the near side, Boyce Green. Green trying to get a couple of yards. As we take a look at the starting lineup now for the Cleveland Browns. Paul McDonald, of course, the quarterback. Green and Biner, who are the running backs. Brian Brennan, a rookie, is one of the wide receivers. Ricky Feature getting a start in place of Bruce Davis today. And, of course, in white, the designation of All-Pro status for Ozzie Newsome. Up front, Doug Deacon in his 203rd consecutive ball game. Jackson on the left side, Mike Babb at center, veteran DeLamalure, and Paul Farron on the right side. Boyce Green once again straight ahead to about the 25-yard line as the Browns test the interior part of the line of that defensive unit put up by the Houston Oilers. Jesse Baker making the stop that time. The Oiler front three, the down linemen, Ham, Stensrud, and Baker. The linebacking core with Riley and Bingham on the left. On the right side, the veterans Abraham and Brazil. And the deep backs, Brown, Tullis, Bostic, and Jeff Donaldson, a last-minute replacement for Bo Eason. Eason aggravating a knee injury last week in the loss against the Rams. Third and short yardage for Cleveland. Biner hit hard at the 25-yard line, and the Houston defense thinks they may have stopped him short of the first down. Mike Kennedy with a good, strong hit. You take a tight look at number 27.
Well, they're running right behind right guard Joe DeLamalure. Now watch on the left of your screen. Biner coming in there, and that's Mike Kennedy, number 27. That makes a stop right there in his tracks. And that ball, I think, is short of the first down, Gary.
Kennedy missed 5 games this season because of an injury he suffered on his day off when he was water skiing. Coaching staff not too happy about that incident. As we watch them mark the chains, he has the first down. Oh, and not by much. That was the slimmest of margins. So Biner, who had a strong performance last week in that frustrating loss against Pittsburgh, 103 yards, had just enough that time for the first down.
The Browns think that running at Jesse Baker is the thing to do. Baker is a fine pass rusher, but he is not very strong at the point of attack against the run. He's number 75 on the right side.
From the 26-yard line, Boyce Green going to the outside, has room across the 30 to the 33-yard line. Nice effort on the part of Boyce Green, the second-year running back from Carson Newman. Taking a look at his statistics for 1984, 600-plus yards for the season.
Hugh Campbell, the head coach of the Houston Oilers, has 5 draft choices in the first 3 rounds. He has 2 number 1s, 1 number 2, and 2 number 3s. He says, I'm going to put them all in my defensive unit.
See Hugh Campbell momentarily on the sideline. No headset, no cap today. Here, of course, in the comfort of the Astrodome. Taking a look at Boyce Green once again, this time across the 35 to about the 37-yard line. So the Browns trying to establish the ground game here against the Houston Ball Club. And, of course, last week gave up so much yardage to Eric Dickerson as he broke that long-standing record of O.J. Simpson. Marty Schottenheimer taking over for Sam Rutigliano at the midpoint of the season, 3-4 coming into this contest. You see the first-year coaches on the graphic here. Sam White with Cincinnati with 7 victories, hoping for number 8 today. McDonald throwing for the first time, completes the pass, and on the receiving end, tight end Harry Holt, second-year player from Arizona, gathers it in as the Browns methodically move upfield. Robert Abraham with the tackle for the Oilers.
There's an interesting objective involved in this football game, and Harry Holt is the guy that's involved in it, and that the Browns want to find out if Harry Holt is the man that they need to look at, because if they're going to run the 2-back offense, then obviously Ozzie Newsome will be the only tight end. If they're going to run the single-back offense, then Harry Holt will be instrumental in that, and he has to play effectively both in the run game and the pass game.
From the Browns' 44-yard line, it is second down. McDonald, quick throw over the middle. Brennan across midfield at the 48-yard line. It's Brian Brennan, the rookie from Boston College, makes his first reception. And for the first time, the Browns have moved into Houston territory. Steve Brown coming up from the left cornerback position to make that tackle.
Now, the Browns are playing today without Bruce Davis. Now, Bruce Davis is the young man who has the world-class speed. He's run the 100 meters in something like 10.2. Now, in the absence of that, Ricky Feature and Brian Brennan, who are both of the possession-type category, will find it very difficult maneuvering deep because the Houston cornerbacks will clamp right down on them.
Brian Brennan had 2 touchdown receptions against the Oilers 3 weeks ago in Cleveland, a ball game that Cleveland won 27-10. Royce Green, his 5th carry, and he has good yardage again, down to the 41-yard line. Already, Green getting up in excess of 25 yards on those first 5 carries.
Now, we talked about Ozzie Newsome being the prototypical tight end of the 80s. That means a lot of pass, but he also is a very effective run blocker when he has to. Now, that's former All-Pro Robert Brazile, number 52, and Ozzie Newsome does an effective job of eliminating him from the play. 2nd
down and 3, just short of the 41-yard line. Cleveland on the move now in our first series of the ball game in the Astrodome. Holt in motion. And the handoff to Green. Green with the opening again in the center of the line. Gets down to about the 37-yard line. And good move up front is Mike Babb and Joe DeLamalure teaming there to open the hole for Royce Green. Abraham and Bostic making the stop.
Every football game, Gary, has a game within a game. The cornerback versus the wide receiver. The tight end versus the strong safety. And that's what we will be looking at today. We're going to really specialize in talking about the all-pros on this field today, and that's primarily Ozzie Newsome on offense and Mike Munchak on offense for the Oilers. We're going to see exactly what they do.
Bruce Davis now in the ball game for the Browns. Play action fake. McDonald in trouble. Now he has room. Fires complete the pass. Biner at the 20-yard line. He has room at the 15, and down he'll go at the 11-yard line. Excellent reaction on the part of quarterback McDonald and also on the receiving end of Ernest Biner.
Well, when you come through a 16-game schedule and you have your problems early on, like Paul McDonald did, some of the things you learn how to do is just with a very small nuance of some sort, just like right there. You get away from an oncoming rusher, then you make a big play by making a nice throw to Biner on the outside. Now watch Biner do his magic.
Biner back to the opposite side, 26-yard gain, 1st down. Ball at the 11-yard line. McDonald looking over the middle, plenty of time. Now the ball is batted down. With a hand up there, Mike Stensrud, I believe, who got a hand on the football and knocked it away. Excellent play on the part of the nose tackle.
If we can really take a look at McDonald here, you'll see that one of the reasons why Paul has a number of passes deflected at the line of scrimmage is that his release motion. Watch it. See, he's got the ball back, but he comes almost side-on. Right, watch right here. See how he comes around, and if you get your hands up, if you're a defensive lineman, if you get your hands up, he's had trouble getting the ball by some of those 6'6" and 6'7" defensive people.
Stensrud at 6'5", got the hand on the football to make it 2nd down and 10 from the 11-yard line. Holt again in motion. Here's Green with the football up the middle inside the 10, but hit hard. He got a quick yard, and then he was nailed. Brazile muscling up that time on the stop.
Getting back to talking about standing in that pocket and being able to throw around the big people. That's the one area when people talk about whether Doug Flutie can play in the National Football League. That is the one area of primary concern with all of the people in the National Football League, because there's no way you can roll out on every play in this league. There's no way you can have a moving pocket on every play, and he will have to sit in the pocket and throw the football, and there are those who are concerned with whether he can do that or not.
Saw momentarily that Stensrud, apparently shaken, will be leaving. He is going off on the far side of the field, anticipating that Brian Sauché would be taking his spot at nose tackle. Stensrud, a 6-year veteran from Iowa State. So it's 3rd down. The ball at the 9-yard line now for the Cleveland Browns. No score early. The first possession of the afternoon for the Browns. Over the middle, it's Biner. Biner close to the goal line. Down at the 1-yard line, he'll be close to the 1st down as well. Ernest Biner out of the backfield with his 2nd reception right in the middle.
And number 54, Greg Bingham, is complaining to the officials because he feels it was a pick play. And a pick play is when one offensive man runs into you so that another offensive man can catch a pass. Watch it. Right in the middle of your screen, you'll see number 16, McDonald, looking right in the center. Ozzie Newsome, 82, goes in front, and you see the contact made right there with Bingham. Now, Bingham will come into the picture. There he is, 54. He's screaming, but Ozzie Newsome gets the superstar treatment. And, well, he should. He's earned it.
4th down, less than a yard to go for the 1st down, a little over a yard for the touchdown, and the Browns are going for it. No field goal unit on the field. It's Biner. He has the touchdown on a tremendous 2nd effort. Ernest Biner with a magnificent effort. It looked as if the Oilers had him stopped cold, and suddenly he popped through for the score, his 1st NFL touchdown. So the unit coming on now for the conversion attempt is the Browns going for it on 4th and short yardage at about the 1.5-yard line. Are able to get 6, and Matt Barr hopes to make it 7. Out of the hold is Paul McDonald. We'll take a look. Barr has it, and the Browns on top 7-0. 7:25 in the first quarter. Let's take another look at the scoring play.
Ernest Biner, 5'10", 215 pounds, number 10 draft choice this year out of East Carolina, shows the persistence that a running back has to have coming through in the scoring territory down around the goal line. Another look at it. Good blocking by Jalon Malloy, number 64. Jackson, 68, clearing a path, and Biner stretching for all he's worth for the 6-pointer.
So the Cleveland Browns trying to make it 2 in a row this year over Houston, on top by a touchdown. Back in the Astrodome, Cleveland leading Houston 7-0. First quarter scores. The Browns get set to kick off. Carl Roach's Willie Joyner in the deep spots. It'll be Roach's from a yard deep. The speedster across the 20 and down at the 25-yard line. For a moment, it looked as if the hole might be there. Greg Best on the special teams making the tackle, checking other activity around the NFL. Look at this one. Buffalo with the early jump on the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're going to be paying close attention to that ball game all day. The Bengals, of course, must win and hope that Pittsburgh loses against the Raiders the second half of our doubleheader coming up later today. In that case, Cincinnati goes to the playoffs. Our first look now at Warren Moon and the Houston offensive unit this afternoon, now trailing 7-0. Russell, the H-back in motion. Pitch out going to Larry Moriarty straight ahead to the 30-yard line. Moriarty getting a quick 4 or 5 yards as we check the starting lineup now for the Houston Oilers. Warren Moon, of course, the first-year quarterback wearing number 1. Moriarty, the H-back or motion back is Dressel. Smith, Walls, and Williams are the receivers. Up front, Mike Munchak. We mentioned all-pro status, going to the Pro Bowl, starting at left guard along with Harvey Salem. They've been on that side solid all year long. A lot of juggling with Romano, Schumacher, and Matthews because of injury situation, anchoring the right side of the line. Warren Moon had his worst day as a professional quarterback 3 weeks ago in the loss to the Browns in Cleveland. He's hoping to make amends today. Moriarty straight ahead. Tough yardage to about the 34-yard line. Larry Moriarty, the workhorse since the trade of Earl Campbell to the New Orleans Saints. Bob Golick, the nose tackle, as we take a look at the defensive alignment for the Browns. Camp, Golick, and Baldwin are the 3 down linemen. The linebacking core just about as good as you'll find in the National Football League. Banks, Johnson, Cousineau, Matthews. They're incensed because one of them didn't make it as an All-Pro or Pro Bowl selection. Minifield, Dixon, Gross, and Rogers, a young defensive secondary, hard hitters. Those corners, Minifield and Dixon, will play as tough and as tight as just about anybody in the league.
Let's see if they don't follow Mike Munchak here, 3rd and a couple, with Larry Moriarty running the football.
Moriarty carried the first 2 times. Moon throwing quickly. Passes dropped. Herky Walls had the ball in his hands, couldn't hang on. One of the smallest men on the field. After he dropped the football, one of the Browns trying a little intimidation there, and the fans here in the Astrodome didn't like it. But no flag on the play. So short of the first down with the incompleted pass, and the punting unit comes on.
Clay Matthews just came off the field in excruciating pain. He is being looked after right now by the Cleveland doctors. I think there's something seriously wrong with Matthews. Usually when a football player comes off like that, slams his helmet down and is holding his shoulder, he knows that there's something wrong.
Matthews on the bench. You got a quick look at Brian Brennan in the deep spot awaiting John James' punt at the 23-yard line. Here's Brennan. Gets a couple of yards and a penalty marker late coming in. Penalty marker down on the field as we have 5:34 to play here in the first quarter. Cleveland on top, 7-0. Their second possession coming up after a 43-yard punt and a 6-yard return. You're taking a look as they work on the injured hand or wrist of Clay Matthews, the linebacker who's had such a tremendous year for the Cleveland Browns, on the bench in obvious pain when he came off the field. Cleveland leading 7-0, their second possession. The penalty, an illegal block, moved them back, however, to their own 16-yard line. Here's Boyce Green. Green out to the 20, possibly the 21, before he's hammered down by Robert Abraham. Let's check other activity around the NFL. Here's an update from NFL 84.
All right, Gary, you know what's on the line for the Cincinnati Bengals today, but Buffalo took the opening kickoff and has scored. Greg Bell from the 5. A note here, Chris Collinsworth was listed as questionable for the Bengals, but he is playing. 7-0, Buffalo.
So Buffalo leading Cincinnati in that very important game relating to the playoff spot that's available of the AFC winner. The Pittsburgh Steelers playing later this afternoon in Los Angeles. Pick up a 4, 2nd and 6 from the 20. Boyce Green, he's been the workhorse thus far. Has the football again, this time stopped for no gain or a gain of only about a half yard. Keith Bostic coming up as the strong safety making the tackle. You see that Green already has rolled up some numbers, carried the football 9 times for 40 yards. A pretty good afternoon. And of course, last week it was Ernest Biner who had the yardage for this ball club, Reggie.
Oh, a week ago, Ernest Biner gained 100 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was the first time that an opposing back has gained 100 yards against that Steeler defense this year at Three River Stadium.
Marty Schottenheimer checking his shot sheet. He has Green and Biner, of course, as his 2 starting setbacks. And he also has Mike Pruitt available. Pruitt coming back from a knee injury earlier in the season. Schottenheimer has not changed anything this week, regardless of the fact that it's the final week of the season. No short practices. Everything has been just the same. He wants this win and wants it badly. Pass knocked away. Excellent defensive effort on the part of number 51. Ted Thompson, the veteran, playing an outside linebacker in place of Avon Riley. Thompson, the man with the silver streaked hair. We were out at practice yesterday, and he was as frisky as a young pup out there.
Ted Thompson's been running that defense for the last 7 or 8 years here with the Houston Oilers. They take all their linebackers out. They keep Thompson in the ball game. They bring 6 defensive backs, and they really do a job in the secondary with the double coverage and shutting down principally the primary receiver.
Carl Roach is in the deep spot, awaiting the punt now from Steve Cox. It's a beauty, driving Roach's back. He takes it at the 24-yard line.
Look out.
Roach is trying to find the alley. Just smothered at the 38-yard line. So he was able to return it better than a dozen yards. Curtis Weathers making the tackle. 3:43 left to play here in the first quarter of the Astrodome. Houston has the football. We'll see if they can do anything with it when we come back.
That's very disconcerting right there. Clay Matthews heading for the locker room. That's an airbag, usually put on when they suspect maybe a fracture of some kind.
They'll be going in for x-rays, and of course, if we have any further information, we'll be passing you along. Matthews having an outstanding season. Curtis Weathers is his replacement now as the right outside linebacker. Marty Schottenheimer had said earlier that Clay Matthews had his finest season as a linebacker as he had ever seen this year. Houston right now with the football from their own 38-yard line. They call it the 39. Play action fake. Moon looking to the far sideline. Completes the pass to Smith. Short yardage gain out to about the 44-yard line. Tim Smith making his 63rd reception of the year in the grasp of Al Gross.
All right, let's take a look at the All-Pro. Mike Munchak, number 63, left side of your screen. Blocking on number 99, Keith Baldwin. Fabulous job. Keeps the defender away from the quarterback.
Munchak, of course, being accorded recognition as a Pro Bowl selection this week. Very, very proud of that as we spoke with him at practice yesterday.
Extremely difficult to gain recognition when your club is 3-12.
Excellent point. He's been the man on the left side of the line. Warren Moon to throw again. Fires outside. Completes the pass to the H-back Dressel at midfield. Chris Dressel pulling in his 37th reception of the year. Again, Al Gross defending. And they've picked on Gross a couple of times over here now as the Oilers make their first threat. Washington now leading St. Louis in that very important ball game in the NFC Eastern Division. 6-0 first quarter score.
Well, this is a 3-step drop, a play they use just to get the ball off very quickly. There's Munchak once again, number 63, extending those arms. Now, they allow you to do that with the new rules. Get those arms out and keep those big people away.
First down at midfield. Oilers trail by 7. Houston has won 3 of the last 5. Here's Moriarty. He gets you 5 yards. Larry Moriarty out of Notre Dame, who has A troubled young man checking other scores. We mentioned earlier Buffalo on top of Cincinnati on that Greg Bell touchdown run. 7-0 the count there in that one.
When you talk about Larry Moriarty, you're talking about an unusual young man. 38-inch vertical jump, and that's with no rocking start. He legitimate 490 pounds on the bench press, and you watch him run tackle to tackle. He will run right through people.
Larry Moriarty has really done a job in the last 5 weeks for the Houston Oilers. Moon back to throw. Pump fake under pressure, sets up the screen, dumps it off. Moriarty breaks the tackle. Moriarty gets 5 yards, bumped out of bounds on the near sideline. And there's a great example of the strength you were talking about, Reggie, because he just overpowered the defender. Eddie Johnson tried to bring him down.
The play was diagnosed very well by Eddie Johnson, but Eddie Johnson is 218 pounds. You're talking about number 30, Moriarty, 240 pounds of fullback. Now watch him. Bang! Takes right there, takes on Johnson, and eludes him and runs over 2 more tacklers. That's the way you play fullback.
3rd and 4 as the ball is moved now to the 44-yard line. Moriarty getting a breather across the way. 6 defensive backs now for the Browns. See how Moon reacts with the Oilers and to keep this drive alive. They pick up the pressure, fires down the middle, completes the pass. Dressel loses the football, picked off by Gross. Gross across the 40-yard line, still on his feet and down at the 45. Completed the pass to Chris Dressel, hit, lost the football, and it was number 27, Al Gross, who came up with the football. Got a block from Chris Rockins to help pave the way. And just like that, a drive has been halted. So we're down to 1 minute and 14 seconds left to play in this first quarter. The turnover gives Cleveland the football. They have the lead.
That's Al Gross, second-year player from Arizona, who picked that ball out of the air after Chris Rockins forced the fumble. Watch it here now. Dressel's on a crossing pattern. We saw them run this pattern in practice very successfully yesterday. Now watch Rockins, number 37. Reach around, ball's in the air. Gross very alertly picks the ball up. He has been a fine addition to this secondary for the Cleveland Browns.
A young defensive secondary that's going to be heard from in the seasons ahead. Clay Matthews at 28, the oldest defensive starter in that group for Cleveland. Quick pass over the middle is complete. Ozzie Newsome pulling it in and down almost to the 40-yard line as we take a look at the All-Pro in action.
Now Keith Bostic, number 25, who talked about Ozzie pushing off all the time, has to have help inside. Watch the quick move inside. Looking inside for the ball right now. If you don't put someone over the head of Newsome, he will hurt you in that area all day long.
McDonald doing an excellent job of reading the blitz that time because Bingham was coming as one of the backers providing extra pressure.
He is a very intelligent football player.
From the 41-yard line, first down. Browns in the lead, 7-0. They have the football in Houston territory. Under heavy pressure. Pass is completed. Downfield, pulling it in is Harry Holt. And Holt finally goes down, and a penalty marker goes down with him at the 15-yard line. Penalty markers at both ends of the field, virtually. Back as the play unfolded and also as the play ended. The indication that this one may be going back. Gordon McCarter will give us the full rundown after an apparent 26-yard gain. McDonald responding to the pressure.
Holding against Cleveland. Unnecessary.
Well, you could hear, we were unable to hear Gordon McCarter. We heard the public address announcer. There was a holding call against the Browns, a personal foul called against the Oilers on the tackle. So the penalty's offset. The ball is back at the 41-yard line.
And we're seeing one of the objectives of the Cleveland Browns. Find out if Harry Holt can play.
Harry Holt, second-year player from Arizona, has caught a couple of big balls. This one called back, however, because of the penalties. There's Green. Green breaking through a tackle, hammered down at the 33-yard line. And again, we're going back to New York now, NFL 84, as we update other activity.
Gary, we mentioned to you there was a question as to whether or not Chris Collinsworth would play today. Well, here's the answer to that. Ken Anderson to Collinsworth, 12 yards, and they're locked at 7. And in Washington, the game that'll decide the NFC East, the Redskins have scored. But Mark Mosley's extra point attempt was wide left. 6-0.
now, the end of the first quarter in the Houston Astrodome. Cleveland in possession of the football. They have the lead 7-0 as we get set for second quarter activity. And, of course, we'll be keeping you up to date on all the other activity around the NFL, so please stay with us. Back on the Houston Astrodome, one of Santa's little helpers, Texas style, here as we move closer to the holiday season. Gary Gerould with Reggie Rucker in a 7-0 ball game. Cleveland moving the football into Houston territory. Now the Oilers 34. McDonald handing off to Ernest Biner, and Biner breaking a tackle down to the 22-yard line. Ernest Biner running very strong today, along with Boyce Green. That's a potent punch. Young runners in that backfield.
The key to this play is the good blocking of number 81, Harry Holt. Harry Holt seals the entire right side of the line. Watch it. Number 81 right there. You saw him in your screen sealing off that pursuit. That way the defensive people from down the line of scrimmage can't come down the line and tackle the ball carrier from behind. And that's a fine job by Harry Holt.
12-yard gain moves the ball to the 21-yard line. First down for Cleveland. The Browns 27-10 winners 3 weeks ago. McDonald had a big day. He's back to throw now. Looking deep. End zone. Newsome off his fingertips. Trying to stretch out. Couldn't quite get to it. Ozzie Newsome trying to get the touchdown grab. Comes up empty-handed.
Just a little bit of a mismatch for Ozzie, number 82 on the right side, because he's lined up against number 24, Steve Brown. Now, Brown is a cornerback with outstanding speed. You saw the shot from Ozzie right there. Little incidental, but he knew that he had to keep the defender from catching the ball if he couldn't catch it.
Checking the scores, Washington leading St. Louis 6-0. That missed extra point could loom large in that contest. Tampa Bay out in front early against the New York Jets, who've had their share of frustration this year. And Detroit leading Chicago. The Bears playoff bound, but trailing the Lions. Here's Ernest Biner. Biner straight ahead again to about the 17 to 16-yard line as he gets that tough inside yardage before Brazil is there to make the tackle.
Okay, when you're 5'10 and you weigh 215, you've got a lot of leverage low to the ground. Now, Ernest Biner does a fine job running inside here. Ozzie Newsome, 82, once again, head-up blocking, keeping the cornerback out of the play. They asked Newsome to do so many things as a player. Block little men, block big men, catch the ball deep, catch it short. He is a terrific athlete.
Graphic evidence of just why all of those things come together to make Pro Bowl selection for 1984. 3rd and 6. McDonald looking up and down, now drops back into the shotgun. Has Biner along as the lone setback. Steps up in the pocket, now going to keep the football. Down he goes at the 12-yard line. McDonald hit hard. Let's see if he'll be able to bounce back from this one.
Now, you don't really want to make that type of play if you're a quarterback. Quarterbacks do not last long that go in head first. But Paul knew that he had a chance to get the first down with the head-first dive, so that's what he did. Now, the receivers are covered. Now he's running. Watch. Most guys would slide right here, but he goes in head-first because he's trying to get as close to the first down marker as he can.
So it's going to be 4th down. They're short of the first down, and we see the field goal unit coming out now for the Cleveland Browns. Matt Barr, who's had a terrific year. In fact, he's made his last 10 consecutive field goal attempts on the field now to try one from 29 yards. Absolutely routine. Matt Barr keeps his streak alive, and the Browns have extended their lead now to 10-0. I want to remind you now that, of course, the holiday season approaches. Next weekend, the Georgia Bulldogs going against the Florida State Seminoles. That'll be the Florida Citrus Bowl on NBC. Field goal makes it a 10-0 ball game. Cleveland comfortably out on top. You've got an interesting pair of socks here from Frank Minifield.
These are the regular socks that you have to wear in the National Football League. And these
Let me hold this over here on this side.
The socks of Frank Minifield because his calves are so large, he's unable to wear this sock, so he has to wear this sock. And it means a lot because if the sock is too tight, it can cause cramping.
That's bigger than a lot of Christmas stockings that I've seen hung around fireplaces. Let me tell you, he has tremendously huge calves. Fine defensive back. We're going to be watching him in action now as the Browns defensive unit has come onto the field. The kickoff, and the Oilers bringing it out. And at about the 19-yard line, that is going to be all as far as Carl Roaches is concerned. David Marshall on the tackle for the Browns. In the event you've just joined us, after a 15-yard return on that kick, we're just underway in the second quarter in a 10-0 ball game. We have a penalty marker down. Apparently the microphone on the referee, Gordon McCarter, not working, so we're unable to hear the call as we normally would. This one, however, being stepped off against the Cleveland Browns, is going to move the football up in the vicinity of the 35-yard line. So Houston goes to work now, trailing by 10.
Penalty.
Watching Hugh Campbell across the way.
5 Grey Cup championships in Canada. The Grey Cup is the equivalent of the Super Bowl. There's Frank Minifield. Look at those calves.
Tremendous strength in those legs. He has a 40-inch vertical jump, we understand. Look at Larry Moriarty. Moriarty straight ahead to the 40-yard line. Dave Pazzulli coming up to make the tackle.
Well, Munchak is a player that can do a lot of things from the guard position. He can pass block very well. He pulls very well. Watch him. Coming around number 63, he picks up the first dangerous man, and he stays right there on him, and that man is not able to get into the play. And when you're a nose tackle like a Bob Golick and such, and you want to get down the line, Munchak is the kind of fellow that keeps you from penetrating.
Munchak is 6'3", 286. Harvey Salem alongside is 6'6", 285. You're talking about a lot of beef on the left side of that offensive line. Second down, Moon watched to throw. Over the middle, pass complete, Dressel out of bounds at the 50-yard line. Chris Dressel running right into the camera virtually there. Tom Cousineau, the linebacker, providing the defensive coverage as we look at Dressel's statistics on the season.
Well, if you talk about purely from Warren Moon, you talk about a skills standpoint, he has everything you look in a quarterback. He is tall, about 6'3" or 6'4", good weight, good speed. He can throw backing up with velocity. He can throw on the move. He is an exciting player to watch.
7-7 Buffalo and Cincinnati in that important battle to see who is going to go to the playoffs representing the AFC Central Division, Cincinnati or Pittsburgh. The Steelers get their opportunity later this afternoon in a doubleheader game. Gain of 8 on that last play. Moriarty trying the right side, trying to outrun the pursuit, and he manages to do so. Another excellent effort on the part of Larry Moriarty. Don Rogers finally bumping him out of bounds.
Now, you wouldn't expect Moriarty to be able to dip inside and then get back outside at 240 pounds, but he's very deceptive. Now, watch what he does once he turns the corner. Watch him get his left shoulder down to take people on. Look, now he's ready. See, takes the defender on, makes the defensive back pay a price, and that was Don Rogers who paid the price.
Chip Banks had good pressure coming inside, good penetration, but Moriarty was able to step outside of him, and once he got out to the corner, he was able to stretch his numbers out. 26 yards and 5 carries. Getting you 5 at a crack as we watch Dressel in motion. Moon with a play-action fake to Moriarty. Now fires, has a man. It's picked off and dropped. Pass was intended for the tight end, Jamie Williams, and Frank Minifield had that one in his grasp but couldn't hang on, and you see his reaction.
In the Canadian Football League, the field is much wider than it is in the National Football League. Therefore, Moon was accustomed to throwing this type of pass and not getting any help. Now, in the National Football League, players are taught to watch the eyes of the quarterback. Now, Moon had Williams wide open, but he didn't see Minifield dropping back off of his receiver to play Williams.
Moon, 5 for 7, has 36 yards passing. Remember now, 3 weeks ago in Cleveland, his net for the day was only 38 yards. He was really frustrated that day. He's hoping to come up with a stronger performance today. He needs to now because the Oilers are down as we see Stan Edwards for the first time. Oilers trailing by 10. Believe it, Edwards has the first down. He's going to be very close to it as they umpile.
Moon has been criticized very critically about throwing so many short pass possession type receivers. Why does the man who has the obvious gifts that Warren Moon has in terms of throwing the football throw so many intermediate routes? Well, Warren told us yesterday, he said, look, I just don't have the guy that runs through the secondary with the great speed that can pressure the defense, can move people back, and until we get that, we have to work with what we have.
Edwards gets the Oilers the first down at the Cleveland 40-yard line. Penalty markers in the grasp. And now we see Tim Smith down to the 25-yard line. Don't know if a penalty marker actually went down or not. I saw one of the officials go to his pocket and pull it out, but I don't see any on the turf. It's a first down. There is no flag.
Very intelligent move by both Warren Moon and Tim Smith. See, continue with the play. Never stop play. For you young people listening, always go until you hear the whistle blow. And unless it blows, assume that the play is a legitimate one. And Tim Smith does that. He's closing in on 1,000 yards receiving for the second year in a row.
Indeed he is. A 14-yard pickup on that play. First down at the 25-yard line. Russell jogging over slowly to take up a spot now in the slot on the right side. The pitch out to Moriarty trying that right side. Spins, gets a couple of yards, but that's all. Hammered down that time by Eddie Johnson.
Moriarty, who went to Notre Dame and came from Scranton, Pennsylvania, just likes to bury it down and take on people. Chip Banks right there missing a tackle.
But Johnson there to hammer it home when he bounced off Banks. It slowed him down just enough so Johnson could make the stop. Good active pursuit on the part of that Cleveland linebacking corps. They were able to cover a lot of ground. Second down. 8 yards needed for the first down. Houston trying to generate its first genuine offensive threat of the afternoon. Moon over the middle, completes the pass. Pulled down is Mike Holston inside the 5-yard line. Rogers engrossed there with a tackle, but Mike Holston, who's caught only 20 balls in 15 preceding games, found himself wide open in the middle of that secondary.
Holston, in his 4th year from Morgan State, has been somewhat of a disappointment to the Houston Oilers. There's a look at the Browns secondary, not playing bump and run here, and they don't play the defense as well when they're back off of the wide receivers. And that was an excellent throw and catch by Moon and Mike Holston.
Tampa Bay stretching it out 17-0 as they're playing inspired football for John McKay in his final game as coach of the Bucks. Inside the 5, Moriarty picks up maybe a yard to about the 4. So it's going to be second and goal coming up now as you get a good tight look down in that pile as they come out of there. Bob Golick making the tackle that time, and Moriarty along with Chip Banks.
Now it gets very difficult down here to move defensive people because many of them are in the 4-point stance. They're rooted. They expect you to come straight ahead with the football. And this is really not a time for anything other than just power football. Man on man, big man on big man. Here we come. You stop us.
At the 8-minute mark left to play here in the first half. Houston trailing 10-zip, but threatening now deep in Cleveland territory. Dressel in motion. Here's Moriarty. He has running room. Moriarty with the touchdown for the Oilers. Behind the lead blocks of Chris Dressel and Stan Edwards, Larry Moriarty breaking through for his 5th rushing touchdown of the year, and the Oilers are on the scoreboard. Moriarty now 8 carries, 34 yards, and that's got to lift this ball club, Reggie. A good, impressive drive.
And Moriarty is a young man who is having contract negotiation troubles with the Oilers organization and isn't too certain about his future. And I know the Oilers want to resolve the impasse with his contract, but he seems to be a very inspired runner and a tough young man and a fine football player.
Trying to increase his bargaining power today as we watch Joe Cooper come on and get the conversion attempt. It's a 10-7 ball game now as we'll take a look again at the touchdown run by Larry Moriarty.
The Oilers really do cross up the Browns. The Browns are thinking inside run. Now they start inside, and once again you see the deceptive speed of Larry Moriarty, 240 pounds, running around the outside. Touchdown.
Great blocks on the outside on the part of Dressel and Edwards. Houston capitalizes. They now trail by 3. Crowd here in the Houston Astrodome rejoicing after the Moriarty touchdown, the Cooper conversion, as we watch Joe Cooper now kick the ball off, and we're underway once again. Cleveland leading 10-7. This one, however, going to go out of bounds inside the 5-yard line, and Cooper will have to do it again. Interesting story with Joe Cooper. We enjoyed chatting with him yesterday at practice, Reggie, because here's a young man that a few weeks ago was wrapped up in law school in Central California as we again react to other scores around the league. But he suddenly finds himself now in a very, very interesting situation. He's done well, kicked 9 consecutive field goals for this team, and he right now knows that he's got a shot at staying with this ball club next year as he'll be battling Florian Kemp. If he doesn't make it here, he's certainly increased his stock with other teams around the league. Joe Cooper, you're taking a look as he gets teed up to kick it off once again from the 30-yard line. Saw the numbers on the scoring drive. 10 plays, 65 yards, 4 minutes and 44 seconds on the length of that drive. And it was the final 4 yards by Moriarty to make it a 10-7 ball game. 16th and final weekend for both of these ball clubs who've had their share of frustration, but both have had impressive performances in recent weeks. A lot of people felt that the Cleveland ball club, even though they lost to Pittsburgh, really came of age in that ball game last week. And Houston, of course, beat Pittsburgh down here a couple of weeks ago in an overtime game. Driving the ball deep. Glenn Young across the 20, has room across the 30. Look out! At the 40 and finally bumped out of bounds, and it was Cooper, the kicker, who likes to get in there and mix it up. He's made a couple of tackles this year, and he bumped Young out of bounds across the 40-yard line. Glenn Young, second-year player from Mississippi State, with a fine return, bringing that one out across the 40. It'll be spotted at the 42-yard line. A 36-yard return by Glenn Young. We have 7:34 to play in the Astrodome, left in our first half in a 10-7 ball game. We hope you'll stay with us. Let's take another look.
This is an area in which the Cleveland Browns hope to improve in, and it's very critical because this play right here gives the offense outstanding field position. Kick returns, critical part of the football game.
Boyce Green with the football. Penalty marker thrown into the center of the line. No gain on the play. Keith Bostic making the tackle. Marty Schottenheimer, of course, a great believer in special teams. That was his duty as a professional player, as we get the indication of holding now against the Browns. Schottenheimer has just simply said, we will excel with special teams. It's as simple as that.
Yes, and every bit as devastating as that work on special teams is this particular play, holding.
Once again, we would explain that the on-field microphone on referee is not working, and so we're unable to find out who the call went against.
Well, they're doing the wave right now, Gary, and I'm just about as sick of the wave as I can be.
Yeah, I think the wave
I'll be glad when 84 is over.
Has run its course for as far as this season is concerned. First and 20 at the 32. McDonald back to throw. Completes the pass. Ozzie Newsome gets a few yards out to about the 36-yard line. McDonald now 7 for 10 in the passing department, just over 7 yards.
Always look for Ozzie Newsome when you're trying to gain yardage. Right here now, Avon Riley gives Ozzie a good shot, but Ozzie is coming underneath the defense. The linebackers have dropped deep because it's a 2nd and 20, a 1st and 20, and now Ozzie is just trying to get just a little of that yardage back.
Taking a look now, the reception leaders. This is updated. Art Monk now up to 97. Remember the record, Charlie Hennigan 101. Newsome with his 2 catches today now up to 89. And this is the final weekend of the regular season. Washington now on top of St. Louis 13-0. Monk scored the touchdown that stretched it from 6-0 to a 13-point lead. And now too much time has been used by McDonald and the Browns, and the Houston fans love it as they'll watch Cleveland get set back another 5. Moves the ball back to the 32-yard line, where they'll be needing 20 yards for the first down. McDonald had a 3-touchdown day in the victory over Houston 3 weeks ago in Cleveland. One of his strong outings of the season. Dropping back into the shotgun now, 2nd and 20. McDonald firing for Brennan. Brennan trying to hang on at the 40-yard line, but he was sandwiched. Excellent coverage. Keith Bostic back there along with Patrick Allen. Brian Brennan jogging back after being sandwiched between the 2 defenders.
Let's take a look at number 73, Doug Deacon, a man who has played in 203 consecutive games, working against the best pass rusher the Oilers have, Jesse Baker, number 75, right behind McDonald. Deacon keeps him out of the play. There he is, Doug Deacon. What a phenomenal record Jim Marshall has
282
there.
games. That's just unbelievable. Over what,
20 years of play.
Yep. Deacon stands 12th on the list at 203. From the shotgun, pressure, down he goes. Bostic with the blitz. And Keith Bostic really hammered home Paul McDonald. And the Oiler fans love it as they're back in this ball game now. And for the first time, their defense has really muscled up and stopped Cleveland cold.
That's an impact play, a crowd exciting play. Keith Bostic, who cannot defend Ozzie Newsome one-on-one, takes matters into his own hands right here as he really blitzes Paul McDonald coming from the left on a safety blitz. No pickup. That's a very dangerous play in terms of protecting your quarterback.
Similar play 3 weeks ago. Bostic took the ball right off McDonald's hand and went 25 yards for a touchdown. This time, no opportunity to pick up the ball, but a great tackle. Here's the kick now on the part of Cox. Carl Roach is at the 32-yard line. The little man goes down at the 35. Roach is brought down. So the change of possession now leaves us with 6 minutes, 5 seconds to play in the first half. A good, tight 10-7 ball game here in the Houston Astrodome. It's Cleveland on top by 3. Looking at the Cleveland Browns bench, you see the Pro Bowl selection Ozzie Newsome there in the middle. He's been handled rather effectively thus far. Has 2 receptions in this ball game today. He caught 10 against the Oilers 3 weeks ago in Cleveland. Warren Moon drove his ball club last time to a touchdown, their first score. You see his numbers on the afternoon thus far. Much better than the type of day he had in Cleveland 3 weeks ago. Moriarty cuts back inside, gets himself another 5 yards up to the 40-yard line. And again, excellent reaction on the part of the strongman, Larry Moriarty.
Talking some more about Larry Moriarty, who's doing a fine job incidentally, but the guy that's leading a lot of the runs for Moriarty, Mike Munchak. Munchak was the 8th player drafted overall in the 1982 draft. Number 1 draft choice of the Oilers. He is 6'3", 286 pounds, and his arms, Gary, look like your body.
Second down. Moon again with a give to Moriarty, straight up the middle, a couple of yards across the 40 to the 42-yard line, giving us a chance now to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
This is WTVG TV 13 Toledo.
Moriarty walking back after the tackle made by Johnson and Golick. 10-7 ball game down to the 5-minute mark left in the first half. And of course, we'll be updating all the activity around the league. NFL 84 in New York at halftime. Stan Edwards replacing Moriarty now in the Houston backfield. From the 42, third down. Moon looking to the far side, completes the pass. Tim Smith down to the 30-yard line and out of bounds. Beautiful throw on the part of Warren Moon, right on the money to Tim Smith. Minifield had no chance to defend against that pass. And you see the graphic now for the second consecutive season. Tim Smith has topped the 1,000-yard mark. Here's 30 on this play.
Now, Tim Smith is the possession guy. What they need is the deep speed on the other side. Makes a neat play here because he doesn't let Minifield know that the ball is coming. He kept his arms right down by his side until the ball arrived. Then he made the catch. That's a very smart play by a very smart veteran.
Houston fans love it as we take a look at Smith lining up again now for this next play. First down in Cleveland territory. Play action fake. Moon with a deep drop this time. Has time to throw. Dressel on the far side. Complete at the 25-yard line. The motion back. Dressel brought down by Chip Banks.
There are 3 young quarterbacks in this league right now who have outstanding pass skills. Number 1, Warren Moon is one of them. Obviously, Dan Marino at Miami is leading the brigade right now. And, of course, if you watched on NBC yesterday the Denver-Seattle game, you saw John Elway and his great skills. These are 3 players that will be just joys to watch over the coming years.
Tampa Bay with that 17-0 lead for John McKay against the New York Jets. Russell in motion. Here is Edwards, tripped up, ran into Munchak's ankle, I believe, and fell down. As we take a look at other activity now around the NFL in this final week of regular season play, Chicago has now bounced back, leading Detroit 7-6 second quarter. New England over the Colts, also in the second quarter by 10. Green Bay hammering Minnesota, and boy, the Vikings have given up so many points this year. 24-0. Berkey Walls now back in the ball game for Houston. Houston trailing by 3. Oliver Luck across the way with a headset. Backup quarterback.
He's a native Clevelander.
That's right. Third down for the Oilers. Here come the Browns. They've got a blitz. Moon in trouble. Unloads the football. No chance for anybody to make a reception that time. He had Smith and Holston over there, but a heavy, heavy pass rush on Warren Moon.
Real fine play by Hanford Dixon, who came on the safety blitz that time and forced Warren Moon to get rid of that ball in a hurry.
So it's going to be 4th down and 7. And Cooper and the field goal unit have come on now. Let's see what happens as we take a look at Cooper. Cooper's had a good streak, Reggie. He has hit 10 in a row, or 9 of 10, 9 consecutive.
Well, it may be a little bit out of his range. I'm not sure. No one knows a great deal about this fella, but watch for the fake. They just might fake this.
His long is 44 yards. Let's take a look. He drives it. It's going to be to the right side, I believe. It is no good. So the streak for Joe Cooper is broken after hitting 9 in a row. He was just a bit wide right. 2:54 left to play in the first half. It's still a 10-7 ball game in the Astrodome. With a 29-yard field goal. Moriarty with a 4-yard touchdown run for Houston, accounting for the scoring thus far in this one as we look into the eyes of Paul McDonald. 1st and 10 from the 24. Pass is complete. Holtz getting out across the 30 to about the 33-yard line.
Well, the Oilers are playing man-to-man on the outside. Bruce Davis is in the football game right now with the great speed. I would be looking for them maybe to look for Davis deep later. Now Holt against the man-to-man coverage, working against the linebacker with his big body, positioning himself in front of the defender, makes the catch.
Not much that Greg Bingham could do in that particular circumstance. Bingham, who has led this club in tackles 10 of 11 years.
Keep your eyes on number 85 at the top of the screen.
That's the speedster, Davis. McDonald looking down the middle. This one overthrown. Holt was there coming down the near sideline with Brian Brennan, but you can see a little disappointment on the face and in the eyes of Paul McDonald as we remind you at halftime. Bob Costas, Samad Rashad, Bill McAtee, Pete Axtell keeping you current on the activities, particularly that pertain to the playoff possibilities in this, the final week of regular season play.
Well, it certainly has been a year that Paul McDonald will remember and will benefit from. He has learned a great deal, reading defenses in the National Football League, learning the personnel, getting acquainted with his own personnel on the outside. It will help him in 85.
3rd down. Browns need a couple. Finer straight up the middle. He has the first down, I believe.
There's a
And the
flag.
penalty marker comes in late.
Usually holding.
And there's your indication. Gordon McCarter giving us the signal, so they'll move this one back.
I agree with fans who were recently polled by the NFL about what's bugging them in the National Football League. And they talked about the long games and also the plethora of flags.
Still no opportunity to hear Gordon McCarter. Unfortunately, his on-field wireless microphone not working properly, and so the holding call moves the ball back to the 23-yard line.
I think if the Rules Committee gets involved with the number of penalty flags that have been thrown, particularly holding, there has to be some degree, some flagrant versus incidental. And too many flags are being called that interrupt the game and good football plays.
Saw the graphic, 7 penalties called today, 6 of them against Cleveland. Swing pass, Biner near side. Down effectively behind the line of scrimmage by Steve Brown. Excellent effort on the part of Brown, who's only 5'11", 189 pounds. Came up and cut him down.
That's a cut block tackle, and you don't utilize that kind of tackle unless you're sure that you're going to bring the man down, because so often with the great skills of these running backs, they can dodge that type of tackle. All right, watch number 24. See, he didn't wrap his arms around the runner, and sometimes if you do that, the runner can get away, but that was a good
Decent penetration, but no real threat. Cox gets the kick off, angling toward the far sidelines, and it'll be out of bounds at about the 34. 2nd quarter. Cincinnati keeping their playoff hopes alive, and of course it all will hinge, if they can go on to win, on whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers can knock off the Los Angeles Raiders' second half of our doubleheader.
Well, Cincinnati's been giving new life. I mean, and when you have that kind of situation, you're not going to blow it at this point.
10-7 ball game here. Less than 2 minutes to play in the first half. Warren Moon setting his ball club at the 34-yard line. Pass out to Moriarty, right side. Pulls the football in. He had it out there in one hand and then finally tucked it back. Got himself maybe 4 or 5 yards. We'll see where they actually spot the football. See that both teams have 3 timeouts here. Chip Banks and Tom Cousineau, the linebackers, making the tackle after that little swing pass from Moon to Moriarty.
And that's Warren Moon's game plan. Run Moriarty, tackle to tackle, get him on the outside here and there, and throw the short control type passes. Maneuver, just position for the three-pointer.
Moon having a much better day thus far than he had against Cleveland in Cleveland 3 weeks ago. Here come the Browns. Moon sidesteps one man, now fires down the middle, complete to Holston out of bounds, 42-yard line. Warren Moon stepping up against the pressure after he sidestepped one penetrating linebacker. Fired it down deep. Holston pulled it in Cleveland territory.
Right, here's the bump and run coverage up at the top. Minifield covering Smith. And Holston getting away from the inside player. Makes the grab right there. Fine play. Made that play on Al Gross. Now watch this man, number 1, Warren Moon. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks around that could make this play. See, falling back, defender in his face, still gets the velocity on the pass. Good play by Holston, good catch.
24-yard pickup. Time remaining first half, you see. Top of the screen. First down to the 40. Movement and contact. Baldwin coming across. See whether or not he was drawn. Baldwin, who had his hands up in Moon's face, trying to deflect that pass, but Moon got it away cleanly on the previous play. Now a little over-anxious as he came across, and the call will go against Cleveland. So a 5-yard step off moves the ball to the 35-yard line with 1:08 to go in the first half. Warren Moon has an excellent opportunity to either tie this ball game up or go ahead.
Having a fine day, and he's been playing this way recently. But if I were the Cleveland defensive secondary, I'd be playing off right now, because one of the things that Warren Moon does is he looks at his primary receiver all the way. Now, if you're a defender and you're back off, you can get a good jump on intercepting a ball.
20 interceptions for the Cleveland defensive secondary thus far this year. Once again, pressure removed. Completes. Almost picked off. Curtis Weathers had it in his hands. Couldn't hang on.
That's exactly what I was talking about, Gary. He watches his primary receiver all the way. In order to get better in this league, he will have to start looking one way and throwing the ball another. Watch him. Looking right at the receiver. Now the defense is watching this too. 3 people 15 or 20 yards away from the ball. The Browns should run if they have to.
McDonald to throw. Down the middle. Completes the pass. Brennan with the football out of bounds will stop the clock. He's at the 42-yard line. So we're down to 20 seconds, and the Browns will have an opportunity now to try to add to their total of 10.
Nice play. McDonald going short all the way, sending 2 people down the outside to stretch the defense and running Brian Brennan underneath. And incidentally, those are good moves right there, because Brennan saves the timeout by eluding the tacklers and getting out of bounds.
20 seconds to go. Getting out of bounds, stopping the clock. Cleveland now has Dwight Walker in as a wide receiver. He'll be way up the top of the screen. Under pressure, McDonald having to scramble. He's down. Sacked for the first time of the afternoon. Brian Sauché, the man who got in there and brought down Paul McDonald.
You don't want to take that sack right there, because you have to recognize where you are on the field. Now, Paul put his team into some trouble. Oh,
Washington now 20-7, and Riggins with a touchdown as they've expanded their lead over St. Louis.
Paul put himself in just a bit of a predicament there, because he moved himself 6-7 yards back out of field goal range by not getting rid of the football there.
Little strategy session. You see the backup quarterbacks, Flick and Terry Nugent on the left side of the screen, number 7. McDonald, Marty Schottenheimer.
In these sessions here, there's communication going on with Joe Scannella in the booth, who's the offensive coordinator. He has a vote in what they should do. The quarterback, Paul McDonald, has a vote in what he should do. And ultimately, the decision is made by the head coach. And he'll take everything into consideration, and then he'll say, okay, we'll do it this way, because I'm the guy that's going to get fired if it's not right.
Halftime just a matter of seconds away as we'll update you with all the activity around the NFL. The offensive line for the Browns has really improved as far as sacks. McDonald has been sacked 51 times this year, but only 11 times in the last 7 ball games, and we saw him dunk it for the first time today.
They went away from throwing the football 45 to 50 times. They've got some control of the football game because they run the ball pretty effectively now, and they don't put all the pressure on Paul.
Loss of 6 on the play to make it 2nd and 16. Once we resume action, the ball at the 48-yard line in Houston territory. 13 seconds to go. Davis now in the ball game. Ricky Feature, Brian Brennan, 3 wide receivers. Newsome out from the tight end position, firing down the middle, completing the pass at the 40-yard line. Ricky Feature getting his first reception of the afternoon, and we'll see the clock having run down to 5 seconds.
Well, this should be a job for Superfoot. Superfoot, of course, is Steve Cox.
He's had a couple of tremendous boots in his career.
He has the 2nd longest field goal in the history of the National Football League at 60 yards.
We have a penalty marker down, and it's going to be another hold against the Browns.
Well, you know what they say, the people in the organization. Let's wait for Gordon McCarter here. Well, we have to apologize. The referee's mic is still not working, but the Browns organization insists that at some point during his career, preferably on artificial turf, Steve Cox will attempt more than a 65-yard field goal.
He has converted twice in his career. He has a 60 and a 58-yarder.
5 seconds to go here. Not a lot that they can do.
Well, we saw a Hail Mary pass last week, the ball game we worked between Cincinnati and New Orleans on the last play of the first half. It paid off for the Saints. Here's McDonald's version down the far sideline. And the ball picked off. Patrick Allen grabs it, goes out of bounds. Time has expired here at the end of the first half in the Astrodome. So it was a touchdown on the part of Biner, a field goal from Barr that gave the Browns a 10-0 lead. Moriarty answered back with a 4-yard touchdown run. It's a 10-7 ball game here now. We're going to be going to New York to update all the other activity around the National Football League as we go to Bob Costas in our New York studios.
And welcome back to our studios in New York. Bob Costas along with Bill McAtee will run down the scores for you. The biggest single game of the day finds the Cardinals at Washington against the Redskins. Late in the second quarter, the Skins lead it 20-7. The winner is the NFC East champion. But if the Cardinals lose, they're completely out. No wild card, nothing. If the Redskins lose, at least they can console themselves with the wild card. Joe Theismann has thrown 2 touchdown passes to Art Monk. Monk has caught 5 passes in the half. He has an even 100 for the year. The Pro Football record is 101 by Charlie Hennigan of Houston back in the old AFL. John Riggins also has a 5-yard touchdown run for the Skins. They missed one of their extra points, which might prove to be crucial if the Cardinals can rally. Cincinnati playing at home and mindful of the fact that if they win, and if Pittsburgh loses later in the day against the Raiders, then Sam Weitz's team is in the playoffs. And they lead it 21-7 late in the second quarter. It did not start well for Cincinnati. The game's opening drive capped by this 5-yard Greg Bell touchdown run, and the score by the rookie from Notre Dame puts Buffalo in front, 7-0. Now watch this. Buffalo punting out of their own end zone. Mike Martin will field it and bring the punt back 33 yards to set the Bengals up. In the process, he runs over umpire Gordon Wells. Boom, down he goes. A Buffalo player smacks him for good measure. Fortunately, he was not hurt. And after the punt return, the Bengals were able to cash in from deep in Buffalo territory on this 12-yard pass from Ken Anderson to Chris Collinsworth, who later left the game with a twisted ankle. It tied the game up at 7. Collinsworth was still in there at this point, making this reception and carrying it 27 yards down to the 1-yard line. Larry Kinnebrew scored from there. That gave Cincinnati a 14-7 lead. Later, an Anderson to Rodney Holman touchdown pass upped it to 21-7, and it was at that point that Collinsworth departed with the twisted ankle. He might be back in the second half. Tampa Bay playing at home and leading the Jets 17-7. As they approach halftime, it is the finale for Coach John McKay, who, of course, is retiring at the end of this ball game. This is the touchdown which made it 17-0. Steve DeBerg to running back Jerry Bell. There were those who felt that Sweden had a very real chance to upset the U.S., and in the first match of the day, Max Wilander, ranked 4th in the world, beat number 2 Jimmy Connors 6-1, 6-3, 6-3. And just moments ago, John McEnroe who is still troubled by a wrist injury, was beaten by Heinrich Sundstrom 13-11 because there is no tiebreaker in the Davis Cup. 6-4 and 6-3. So the U.S. now trails 2-0. Bob. All right, so getting back to that Viking score on the pregame show, as you recall, Pete Axtone gave the Viking defense his Run for the Bus Award. And the Vikings evidently are intent on making Axe's judgment look good. They continue to sparkle defensively in the closing segment of the season, trailing 31-zip at halftime. We'll be back in just a moment.
Taking a look at Frank Minifield getting stretched out to start the second half. The other corner for Cleveland. Here are the first half statistics, just about as even as you could call it, Reggie.
They really are, and you take a look at some of the individual statistics, including that and that yards rushing aspect. Moriarty has 40 yards, and Green has 40 yards. In the passing category, I think Moon is 11 of 16,
right?
And also
McDonald's 10 for 15.
10 of 15, so it's a pretty even football game. Turnovers even, and time of possession, nothing significant there.
We have word also that we wanted to pass along that Clay Matthews did suffer a broken bone. There's a fracture in the left arm, and it was as we suspected, unfortunately. What a tough way to end what has been just an outstanding season. They were so disappointed that he wasn't selected the Pro Bowl squad.
And one of the things I talked with you off camera about, Gary, was the fact that in these games, you have somewhat of a, as people say, what is the significance? Well, players have to go all out because no one wants to get hurt in a ball game like this in which you may have to undergo surgery or something like that. So you must play 100% all the time.
Underway of the second half in the Houston Astrodome in a 10-7 ball game. On the receiving end, Willie Joyner. Joyner getting his first duty as a kick returner this week. They had Richard Williams back there last week, but he suffered a cracked rib, and so yesterday we noticed for the first time that Joyner was back there. Joyner giving the call as we look at Warren Moon, and there are the numbers for what it was 3 weeks ago, the Thanksgiving weekend up in Cleveland, his worst day as a professional. And we'll take a look at today's stats. 11 for 16, quite an improvement as far as pure numbers are concerned.
And the 129 yards still indicates what people are saying is that
penalty on the kickoff. We're attempting to see whether or not Gordon McCarter's microphone is working.
We're talking about those 129 yards. It just indicates with 11 completions there that he's still throwing the ball short. There's no home run threat, and that's what the Oilers are seeking in the draft.
Ball moved back to the 17-yard line. One of those illegal blocks again. So first down situation now for the Houston Oilers, trailing by 3 points as we're just underway in the third quarter. Both of these teams would dearly love to end up the season with a victory. Straight ahead, dive play, Moriarty getting a yard or so. We touched on his contract situation. I had the feeling, Reggie, in talking with him yesterday, that he's a troubled young man. He's frustrated. He's at a point where he thinks now, because Earl Campbell is gone and because of what he's accomplished in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, that he should be entitled to big numbers. Whether or not he'll get it waits to be seen as we see that Cincinnati now has stretched it again. 21 points in front of Buffalo. The second half of our doubleheader featuring the Pittsburgh Steelers in a must-win situation against the defending Super Bowl champion Raiders. Moriarty, this time Room bucks it out across the 30, loses the football. Holston on top of it at the 40.
I think they're going to call him down. We've been talking about two players on the Houston Oilers very much today. Number 63, Mike Munchak, the all-pro. Watch him pulling around the corner, looking for someone. No one there. Then he picks up Eddie Johnson, number 51. Now, number 30, Larry Moriarty, to your screen. Watch the agile ability of this 240-pounder, weaving in and out. Gets hit well there by Curtis Weathers, number 55.
They ruled that he was down. You can see the ball spotted at the 34-yard line. Moriarty, 12 carries, 57 yards now. First down for Warren Moon and company. Play action fake to Edwards. Moon fires to the near side. Smith incomplete. Frank Minifield with the hit over here on Tim Smith, who earlier picked up a reception that carried him over the 1,000-yard plateau for the second consecutive season.
The reason why this game is plodding along, the reason why it's just so difficult for both teams to really mount that real quick strike ability is that
there's the absence of that type of explosive player on the football field. That player just doesn't exist for Houston Oilers. They do not have a player out there that can take the ball on a 5-yard pass and turn it into a 90-yard play.
2nd and 10. Oilers operating from their own 34, early third quarter. Smith in motion. Oilers picked up the blitz nicely. Pass incomplete again, intended for Smith. Smith was shut out in the previous encounter between these two games. He got a couple of receptions, but not this time.
All right, we've been talking about the bump and run with Hanford Dixon. Now, let's see if Holston can get that inside release. Good move by Holston. See, he gets inside, but Dixon's still right there with him, right in his shirt.
And, of course, Warren Moon then threw the football to the opposite side of the field. So, again, Moon staying away from Dixon's territory over there.
And one of the things that happens when a quarterback stays away from one receiver, the defender can't get interception. And that hurts when you're talking about recognition.
3rd and 10. Moon down the middle. Holston can't hang on. Had the ball right through his hands at the 45-yard line. Minifield again with coverage that time in the secondary for the Browns as we watch a rather dejected Holston trudge off the field on the far side. Had an opportunity there, couldn't capitalize. Houston Oilers, late in the season, victories over Kansas City, the New York Jets, and then 2 weeks ago, perhaps their most impressive effort, that overtime victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trailing 10-7 against the Browns right now. Cleveland with Brian Brennan, number 86 here, standing back at his own 26-yard line, anticipating the punt from John James. Here's the man who has punted more times in his career than any other player in National Football League history. Brennan at the 21. And out of bounds at the 26-yard line. Brian Brennan with a 5-yard return after the John James punt. 13:01 to go here in the third quarter. 35-yard boots. We'll be right back. In the Astrodome, a 10-7 ball game. Cleveland on top of Houston. They have the football in what has been a most unusual year. 3 losses coming on the last play of the game. Another one just last week with 5 seconds to go in the ball game. In 9 defeats this year, the Cleveland ball game had an opportunity to win or tie in the final 2 minutes. They've been there every time, but they haven't been able to produce.
And some of the people in the Browns organization might tell you that that's payback for 1980 and the Cardiac Kid.
You remember that season?
Yeah.
All the years when they won so many close ball games. In fact, we were talking with Paul McDonald about that very fact before we kick off today. Here's Miner. Off the 30. Good running effort on the part of Ernest Miner as he gets out to the 32-yard line. Threading his way through some traffic. Rookie running back, and Marty Schottenheimer has had high praise for Boyce Green and Ernest Miner, a couple of young running backs.
Yeah, but once again, the return to form of Harry Holt at tight end is making it possible for Ernest Miner to gain that yardage.
Remind you that this telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Houston Oilers and the National Football League is prohibited. 2nd down. After a pickup of 6, Miner gets the call again, across the 35-yard line. He'll be about a yard short of the first down, it appears.
This is exactly the way that the Browns started on their first possession, running the football, trying to establish control of the football game. That's the way Marty Schottenheimer likes to play. He likes to mix in a little play-action pass, and with the absence of a big play receiver out there, he's just doing it methodically.
23-7 Washington over St. Louis, second quarter, that important game. Cincinnati doing what they have to do. 17-7 Tampa Bay. The Jets have come back with their first touchdown of the afternoon. Chicago extending the lead now over Detroit to 8 points. 3rd and 1. McDonald going deep. Has Newsom. Great defensive effort on the part of Steve Brown. Newsom was there, the ball was there, but so was defender Steve Brown.
And I think Steve Brown may have pulled a hamstring muscle. He's grabbing the back of his hamstring as if he pulled something.
He's had a hamstring problem over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, now the play-action fake. They're trying to pull people up close to the line of scrimmage and get Ozzie Newsom behind the defense. It works pretty effectively, but once again, when you run a tight end on a cornerback who has superior speed, it's not a mismatch.
Steve Cox in to handle the punting chores. You see him standing back at his 21-yard line now. Roaches, the single return man for Houston. Nice high boot. Roaches at the 18-yard line. And not much to work with that time. Penalty marker is down on the far side of the line of scrimmage, back at the 36-yard line. 45-yard boot will get the outcome of that penalty call in just a moment. It's a 10-7 ball game here in Houston. Cleveland on top. We're watching Steve Cox now as he'll have to kick again. A 5-yard penalty for illegal procedure moves the ball back to the 30-yard line. It's now 4th and 6. 45-yard punt the last time. And boy, does he drive this one. This is a tremendous kick all the way into the end zone and through the end zone. He nailed that one. But again, penalty markers down 69 yards from the line of scrimmage. But a penalty marker down once again. We believe that the microphone on our referee, Gordon McCarter, is now working, so we'll be standing by for the call. The longest punt of the year for Cox had been 60 yards. This one's 69 yards, if indeed it'll stand up. The question now relates to the penalty marker on the turf. Cox had a great week last week against Pittsburgh. As we mentioned, he averaged nearly 50 yards for 5 kicks. He just nailed one here in the comfort of the Astrodome.
Whistle foul. 15-yard face mask penalty. Number 51 of the kicking team. The penalty occurred after the touchback had been scored. It'll be from the 20-yard line to the 35, 1st and 10.
Well, let's take a look.
Let's watch it.
See it here.
It's Eddie Johnson. He said number 51, but I think he's talking about number 58, Scott Nicholas, instead.
58. They have just clarified that to the crowd here in the Astrodome. So what had been a 69-yard kick, and they thought would put the ball in play at the 20, Houston now has the football out at the 35-yard line.
Now, there's 2 penalties that can be called for grabbing the face mask. One is unintentional and one is flagrant. Now, the unintentional carries a 5-yard penalty, and the flagrant penalty carries a 15-yarder. That's a big one, and that's a tough one at this particular point because the Browns defensively had the Oilers in good field position for the defense.
Taking a look at a couple of shutouts being pitched here today in Week 16 of our NFL season. Other games, poor Vikings have really been struggling. They're against Green Bay, and Indianapolis going against New England in their season ender, and with an interim coach.
He is not admonishing number 51, Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson is just a signal caller for the defensive unit, and he's giving him instructions.
Right. Once again, the referee had indicated number 51. Then they clarified it. It was Nicholas, number 58. Here that infraction was again. Here's Warren Moon in action now. 1st and 10. His ball club down by 3 in the first quarter. The play action fake. Moon setting up. Firing down the middle. Completes the pass. Jamie Williams tight end. Still on his feet. Down at the 34-yard line before Don Rogers and Tom Cousineau can make the tackle. The big tight end, Jamie Williams, at 6'4", 244 pounds, pulling that one down and then running with it.
That play had a brilliant design from the inception. Watch Moon on the run, rolling pocket, gets the offense moving one way and everybody coming back the other way. As you can see, it's a counteraction pass. Jamie Williams right across the backside now. Maintains possession. Good hit there by Don Rogers.
32 yards, the longest reception in Jamie Williams' short NFL career. He's a second-year player. And the Oilers now in Cleveland territory with a genuine threat. Larry Moriarty, stutter step, then inside the 30-yard line. Moriarty getting a good 5 or so. Once again, seeing good use on the hesitation, picking the hole, and then trying to utilize the power before Cousineau could muscle him down along with Curtis Weathers. Weathers playing in place of Clay Matthews, who earlier suffered a fracture in his left arm or wrist.
Moriarty is a bullish kind of a runner, and you see he's really at his best when he's running between the tackles, and he can get all of that momentum, all of that power, 240 pounds, straight ahead. They say he has rarely stopped in his tracks.
First 10 weeks of the season, he rushed for 257 yards. The last 5 weeks, he's rushed for 438. There he is again, inside the 20 to the 16-yard line. Minifield dragging him down. And the folks in the dome love the power of Larry Moriarty.
Once again, straight ahead. When he's running straight ahead, he is in his own world. Watch the blocking, though. Romano. And Pat Howell, number 66, moving between the guards.
Moriarty picking up 11. He had 138 against the Jets, 117 against Kansas City. He had 81 against Cleveland before he was hurt. Second play, fourth quarter, a pinched nerve that took him out of the ball game.
Defensive backs do not like it when you put a big man like that in the secondary quickly.
First and 10, just short of the 16-yard line. Moriarty again. He's hot. Then he's down to the 11-yard line. Rogers hanging on. Moriarty's numbers beginning to mount. He's getting up there in the 80-yard bracket.
Well, he averages 75 yards a football game, and it would be sad if the Oilers do not come to grips with his contract demand, and Moriarty, in my opinion, could migrate to the USFL.
He said that he would not be averse to that at all. It's a situation in Connor. He likes the city. He likes the organization. He wants to play his football here. He wants to be satisfied, however, now at the end of his second year. He's up to 80 yards for the afternoon, 15 carries. Russell in motion. Edwards gets the call. Quick pursuit. Eddie Johnson, the linebacker, with penetration, and that'll cool off some of that momentum.
That's a track down tackle by Eddie Johnson, number 51. You saw the speed with which he came bursting through the line of scrimmage there, and he is really the kind of player that makes a big play when you need it, and that's exactly what the Browns needed just then.
Fourth-year player from Louisville. He's been called an inspirational type defensive leader by Marty Schottenheimer, and now we see why.
Right side of your screen. Watch the flag. See? 218 pounds, so he's very quick, and he utilized that speed to run down ball carriers.
Third and 10, back at the 16. Actually, about third and 9. We'll call it third and 9. In with the deep drop. Looks to the end zone. Overthrows Holston. The pass is picked off but out of bounds. Dixon was over there, and for one of the few times today they've gone to Dixon's side.
Well, one of the few times you're right that they've even thrown in this area, and wouldn't you know it, he had to be out of bounds when he caught the ball.
Well, that Johnson play looms even larger now after the loss made it third and 9. It's now a fourth down situation. Cooper has come on. Cincinnati, with a field goal, now makes it a 31-7 ball game. So it looks as if it's going to come down to that second half of our doubleheader, the Steelers and the Raiders.
Don't expect any fakes here, Gary.
All right.
We'll kick this one straight
Trying to tie it up. This will be a 33-yard attempt by Joe Cooper. Cooper back online after missing earlier and then unsuccessfully trying a fake. This time he's right through the middle of the upright. We have a tie ball game here in Houston. Midway through the third quarter, it's a good one shaping up between the Oilers and the Browns. Citrus Bowl activity coming up from Florida next week. Georgia and Florida State. A lot of great bowl games coming up on NBC. Here's Clay Matthews back on the sidelines, Reggie.
Notice the left arm that he's holding up, fractured in a cast.
Well, at least he was smiling. Glenn Young from a yard deep or so. Trying to work up a head of steam, and as he popped. Penalty marker is down. Mike Johnson was the man there, number 97, who met him head on.
I think they're going to catch Ernest Biner for a clip, blocking below the knee.
And that's the indication, a 17-yard return. Mike Johnson, on a special team, he's a 6'5", 253-pounder. He was in there pretty quick. Just a step off here against the Cleveland Browns. They have been penalized a great deal in this ball game.
Personal foul, illegal low block on the kickoff return, number 44, receiving team. First and 10.
And Mr. Rucker, you called it. You see Ernest Biner, who was guilty of the infraction, moves the ball back to the 8-yard line.
One of the problems with Biner on those teams is that he's so short, Gary, that when he gets into his hit, what they call a football block hit position, he's too low.
Coming up to the line of scrimmage at the 8-yard line, you see the yards penalized. 13 penalties, 11 of the 13 going against the Browns. Have a station break coming up after this play. Ernest Biner with a football, right side, bounces outside. Look out to the 30, and out of bounds in the vicinity of the 40-yard line as Biner bounced outside with a big hole. Let's take a look at this one once again. Ernest Biner with his biggest effort of the afternoon.
One of the jewels that were uncovered by Bill Davis, Browns personnel director. 10th round draft choice. Breaking through the outside, showing good vision. Now it's a foot race. Foot race, Ernest Biner has outstanding speed, but not the kind of speed to take it all the way, but still an extremely exciting run for this young fellow from East Carolina.
31 yards. You saw Patrick Allen make the tackle and actually strip the ball away, but that was after he was out of bounds, so of no consequence. First down for Cleveland in a 10-10 ball game. McDonald cranking up the fire, completes the pass. Ricky Feature pulling it in, and he's hammered out of bounds at the 47. We pause briefly now for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Cleveland moving toward midfield on the completed pass to Ricky Feature. We have 6.5 minutes to go in the third quarter here in the Houston Astrodome.
Offensively, the Browns, as we said just a little bit ago, are suffering from the same problem that the Houston Oilers lack just a breakaway player, either at halfback or wide receiver.
That's one of Marty Schottenheimer's priorities. Says we can get a home run hitter in the draft. That's what we want, somebody to break it. Penalty marker down, Ernest Biner down after a yard gain. He tried to get the first down.
See, one of the problems is just that it's too tough to play football like this in the 80s, play offense like this. And with all the rules changes, let's wait for McCarter.
Winding up in the neutral zone, number 52 on the defense.
This call going against Robert Brazil of the Oilers.
We were talking, Gary, the rules allowing the receiver to come off the line unimpeded, the rules that let the...
Number 52 defense lining up offside. The penalty creates the first down.
The rules that allow the offensive linemen to extend their arms and keep people away from the quarterback. So you have to have people out there that can just blow the game open, and they don't have it.
Penalty moves the ball into Houston territory at the 48-yard line. First down, Cleveland. 10-10. Coach Green gets his first call in quite some time, and he's got a convoy on the left side. Out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Green that time with as much running room on the left side as Biner had on the right. That line doing the job now. Jeff Donaldson bumping him out of bounds.
Once again,
I think all are running up. Yeah, well, just noticing down here on the side, excuse me, Reggie, I think the Donaldson is hurt on the sideline.
all a running back can ask for is to put you on the corner out there and let you display your skills. The Cleveland Browns are doing that for Boyce Green. Watch the blocking. Lilja, 62 out there. Ozzie Newsome getting in front of somebody. Now they put you on the corner. Now it's up to the running back to do what you can do. And we've mentioned a number of times that the Browns backs do not have great speed, but they are good runners.
Green now 10 carries, 54 yards as they work with Donaldson. 14 yards in that last pickup. You saw Lilja and Delamalure, who both came around from that right side, leading that sweep very effectively. Jeff Donaldson being taken up, so we'll have a break in the action here as they continue to work with him. 5:58 to go in the third quarter in a 10-10 ball game. Cleveland driving. After the 14-yard pickup by Boyce Green, the ball is a 31-yard line now. Darrell Meadows has replaced Jeff Donaldson in the free safety spot for the Oilers. Bo Eason, who had been the starter there, re-injured his knee last week, not playing today. Movement in the line, penalty marker down, and it looked to me like George Lilja may have jumped a little bit prematurely on the right side that time.
Well, Doug Deacon, you'll see him on your screen here pretty quickly, is only the third player ever to play left tackle for the Browns, following Lou Groza and Dick Shafrath. He's number 73 on your screen. And, you know, quite possibly, this could be Doug Deacon's last football game.
That's right. He played 14 seasons. We mentioned earlier the consecutive game record, or the streak that he has, playing in 23 ball games, as we see that Green Bay continues to pile it on for Minnesota. But, Deacon, you have to wonder as we get the call.
Illegal motion, number 62 offense, repeat first down.
Call going against George Lilja over at right tackle. You have to wonder if Doug Deacon, if this could be his last ball game after playing for so many years, or whether or not he'll be coming back for more with Marty Schottenheimer and company next season. First and 15. Penalty moving the ball back to the 36-yard line. McDonald setting up, dumps it off to Biner on the near side. Biner threads his way through a couple of guys to the 29-yard line into the grasp of Robert Abraham, who wrestled him down, and now a penalty marker goes down.
Well, they're marching, but they're marching in the wrong direction. Gordon McCarter caught someone in the backfield holding once again.
This has to be extremely frustrating. We talked about the young coaches, Campbell and Schottenheimer, and they've been besieged by problems as reflected by records of 4-11 and 3-12 coming in.
Holding, number 61, offense, repeat, first down.
Center Mike Babb this time, as we look at Marty Schottenheimer, obviously unhappy with what's been going on here, as the penalty markers are really making it tough. They showed spark. They had a good, strong run with Biner on one side, Green on the other, and now they're moving back toward midfield.
Those defensive coaches have to really wonder, does an offensive guy have to hold?
Mike Babb, Doug English of Detroit once said that Babb's as strong as 9 acres of Texas onions. At that time, he tried to be a little bit stronger and got caught. Down the far side, tremendous catch at the 15-yard line, Ricky Feature. Feature high in the air with great concentration, pulls that one down, and that gets McDonald and the Browns out of a hole and moves them closer after a 31-yard gain.
This is what 9 years of playing wide receiver will do for you. You understand the timing involved in a pass pattern like this. Good coverage by Tellis. Feature leaps up at the very height of the football, makes the catch, and understands that when it's in the air, it's my ball.
31 yards, and Ricky Feature's only 5'10", weighs 180 pounds, but he timed that one beautifully.
One of the problems with bump and run in that situation is the receiver can see the ball, the defender cannot.
First and 10 at the 15, 10-10 ball game. Here comes Ernest Biner. Big hole. Look out, Biner. Second touchdown of the afternoon for the Cleveland Browns and Ernest Biner. Tremendous blocking on the right side of the line, and there's the spike to hammer it home.
Well, number 83 and number 44 riding the screen together. Play before, Feature made the big play that makes the scoring play possible for Ernest Biner.
Well, the Browns were struggling. They had penalties that had moved them back near midfield, then the quick strike to Ricky Feature, and then boom, 15 yards. Ernest Biner, his second score of the afternoon. It's now 16-10. Cleveland on top, and Matt Barr will be looking for point number 17. He's got it. So the tie has been broken. 86 yards for Ernest Biner now. His second touchdown of the afternoon as we take another look.
Well, Biner averaging better than 9 yards per carry, which is awesome. Squirts through a little hole off the right side, just gets into the end zone, puts Cleveland out in front by 7.
4:55 to play. We'll be back with more from Houston. Want to remind you that coming up the second half of our doubleheader today, one of those great rivalries through the years in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the now Los Angeles Raiders. It's a game that could well decide the AFC Central Division. We've been keeping you on top of the activity between Cincinnati and Buffalo. Cincinnati 31-7 over the Bills. Cincinnati wins, Pittsburgh loses. It's Cincinnati that goes to the playoffs. Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh goes to the playoffs. Simple as that. From the goal line, Willie Joyner swinging out the kick for Houston. And he goes down well short of the 20-yard line. So it's a 17-10 ball game now as Houston tries to regroup. And Reggie, one of the things that we haven't mentioned now is the fact that these two clubs today are playing for third place in this rather mediocre division.
That's
and
right.
that influences next year's schedule.
That's right. Whoever wins this ball game finishes third in the Central Division of the AFC, and they have an easier schedule. The first place team and the fourth place team plays a tougher schedule. They play more division winners in 1985. So there's some significance to this ball game other than just who wins and who loses.
Warren Moon going to work now, trailing again, 17-10. After the 15-yard touchdown run by Ernest Biner, Biner's second of the day. Dressel the motion back, and Moon going to the air early. Heavy pass rush, tries to flip it away. One of the interior linemen has the football, and I don't think that's going to work.
Yes,
Don Schumacher, the right guard, ended up with the football.
I've never understood why those big people would catch the football right there. That's illegal. You can't do that. You learn that in grade school.
Well, better one of them catch it than an opponent catch it.
I don't know, Gary.
Illegal receiver against the Oilers. The call.
Well, once again, we're not hearing the referee, Gordon McCarter. We heard the public address announcer.
I'll tell you what that does. That's a tremendous penalty because you lose down and yardage.
Right. You get hurt two ways in that one. Browns had excellent pressure that time, and Moon had some time initially, but you have to assume in that situation that the defensive backs were doing the job. Well, our Gremlins have struck once again, not hearing Gordon McCarter. But the ball has been moved back. The Oilers will try to regroup, although across the way the down marker still says first down.
Well, they haven't marked anything off yet.
We're going to wait on this one. There, it's flipped over. It will be second down.
Yes.
So they lose the down, they lose the yardage. It'll be second in a whole bunch. Well, now I'm going to have to stand corrected. It's still second and 10. The line of scrimmage was where it was, Reggie, at the 18-yard line. Incompleted attempt by Warren Moon. Here come the Browns once again. This time Moon steps up, fires. Smith at midfield. It's a foot race, and Smith goes out of bounds in the vicinity of the 30-yard line. Al Gross finally got there, but that brings some life to this Houston crowd as we take a look at Tim Smith.
Well, they found a way to get Tim Smith on someone else other than Hanford Dixon. Let's take a look at where he lines up. Now, they put Smith inside this time so that they had him working on Al Gross, who's a safety, as opposed to working on Dixon, who was giving him all kinds of trouble. Now, Smith, who's just a possession guy, really doesn't have the speed here, as you see them tracking down like he stole something. And it's a big play for the Houston Oilers. Gets them out of that jam, and they've got something cooking there.
At the Cleveland 35-yard line, that play good for 52 yards. Smith's long this year, 75 yards for a touchdown. That time he just outran Al Gross, had position immediately, and Moon got him the football. Moriarty's turn to the 30-yard line. Possibly the 31. Curtis Weathers there to pull him down as you look right down into the pile and into the eyes of Larry Moriarty.
Well, that was a very smart play call by the Houston Oilers, because what they did was that they maneuvered that offensive formation so that they forced the Oilers to play man-to-man with Gross, who is not accustomed to playing that bump and run, and Tim Smith really beat him badly.
St. Louis hanging there. They had a field goal, 23-10. Down by 13. Washington missed an extra point, a conversion attempt early in the ball game. But the Redskins, looking ahead to the playoffs, lead by 13. Second and 5. Moon out of trouble, completes the pass. Jamie Williams knocked down at the 17-yard line, the tight end. Don Rogers knocking him off his feet. Houston on the move, has the first down. They're trying to battle back to tie this one up as we're inside 3.5 minutes in the third quarter.
Jamie Williams, number 87, basically has been known as a guy who blocks very well on the run, but he has shown some gift here running pass patterns and catching the football.
John Schumacher, the right guard, also with a nice block up front, enabling Warren Moon to bide a little time as Moon did some fancy footwork, stepped up and completed the pass to Williams. Ball at the 17, first down Houston. Cleveland leads 17-10 late in the third quarter. Holston and Smith are the wide receivers. And too much time has been taken by the Oilers. Delay of game indication.
That's what you look for if you're a defensive team in this situation.
Let's check some scores now. Reggie, if we may interject, we're still having problems there on the hearing the official. We look on the sideline at Hugh Campbell. 31-7, that important game. Cincinnati on top. Tampa Bay leading the Jets. Chicago over Detroit. Third quarter scores. Green Bay hammering Minnesota. And here the Oilers trying to battle back and tie things up. Draw play. Moriarty. Not much room to work. Baldwin had a hand in there and really slowed things down for somebody else to put him away. Eddie Johnson then made the tackle with Cousineau. Moon's numbers for the day. Now remember, 3 weeks ago he had only 38 net yards against the Browns. Today 14 of 23, 226 yards. 4 of those going to Smith, who now has a 92-yard day. And St. Louis continuing to come back, and now that missed extra point looms even larger, 23-17. Roy Green picking up a Lomax pass to tighten that ball game. Smith in motion near side as Moon drops back under pressure, fires down the middle. Smith inside the 10, down to the 7-yard line, tripped up by Al Gross, and Warren Moon has got his ball club rolling.
Okay, here's what they're doing with Smith. Now they're beginning to get to be very smart about playing against this bump and run coverage. What do you do when you have a guy who's not that fast? You put him in motion and run him on a pattern off of motion. That way you can't bump and run him. That way he is already on the move, and that way Al Gross can't cover him.
And if Al Gross doesn't just manage to trip him up right there, you may have been looking at 6 points.
Yes.
As it is, the Oilers have the first down, and we're getting the spot as you take a look at Tim Smith's day, now over 100 yards.
And you know, Tim Smith didn't even start at the beginning of the season after leading the AFC a year ago in catches.
That's right. He caught 83 balls last year. Came in today with 62. He's now getting closer to the 70 mark, and that 16-yard gain on that play makes it first and goal now for Houston. Inside 2 minutes here. Ball is at the 7-yard line. Houston crowd has come to life in the season finale. They'd love to see this ball club close out winning 4 of their last 6. Remember, they lost 10 before they found the winning touch. Moriarty for the 4-yard line. And even when it looked like they had him bottled up, he managed to squeeze out a couple of more yards. Cousineau with the tackle.
Well, you and I talked with Larry Moriarty yesterday at practice, and he told us, hey, I watched Earl for a number of years, and he said, I never really wanted Earl to leave. I didn't mind blocking for Earl. Well, he saw enough of Earl to realize what Earl does down in this territory. That's put your head down and just blow people away inside.
Moriarty was primarily a blocking back in college. He really doesn't have that much experience as a ball carrier, so he gets sharper as the season wears on, it would seem. Here he is. Whoa. Touchdown. Moriarty for the second time today. Bulldozing people for the score.
I want to tell you, he knocked a pretty fair tackler back into the end zone. And on the last day in this 1984 season, you take a look at these plays and tell me that this game isn't a significant one for these players on the football field.
Well, that's what we said up top. You can't call this a meaningless football game, and there's a prime example as Moriarty will take a look. Watch the strength and the power as he blasts his way into the end zone.
Just watch the power right here. Boom! That's Don Rogers, as good a hitter as there is in the National Football League. Knocks him 4 or 5 yards back into the end zone, and then look out, brother.
Cooper with a conversion attempt. He's got it. We've got a tie ball game now as Moriarty has 93 yards on the day. Smith has caught passes for 115. Moon has thrown for 242. And the Houston fans are loving it. 57 seconds to go, and we've got us a 17-17 ball game, Mr. Rucker.
Well, I think that one thing that we ought to point out, too, is that as you take a look at Larry Moriarty, who deserves that rest, if the Oilers should win this ball game, they would be tied with the Cleveland Browns at 4-12, but they would gain possession of third place by virtue of a better record in the division, and that means that the Browns in 85 which would have a much more difficult schedule to play.
Larry Moriarty's 6th rushing touchdown of the year, the first time that he's had 2 in one ball game. So a lot of little special added satisfaction here on his part.
And I add that, Gary, not that Marty Schottenheimer or anybody else, for that matter, is concerned about the schedule next year, but once you get into 85 and you think back to 84 and say, hey,
then you think
if we'd won that game, we wouldn't have to play the Raiders and Miami and Denver.
Well, this poor Cleveland ball club, again, not to belabor the point, but when you lose 8 by a total of 23, oh, there has been so much frustration along the way. 3 minutes and 58 seconds consumed in an 82-yard scoring drive. Moriarty going the final 4. He's had a pair of 4-yard touchdown runs as we watch Cooper put his right foot to the ball. Glenn Young at the 3-yard line. Young trying to answer back. Whoa, he looked like Edwin Moses trying to high hurdle people there as he got out across the 30. He manages to bounce up and come right back after taking a pretty tough lick. And for one of the few times today on a kickoff, I don't see
that matter is concerned about their schedule next year, but once you get into 85 and you think back to 84 and said, hey,
Then you think
if
of
we'd
those
won
little
that
things,
game, we
yes.
wouldn't have to play the Raiders and Miami and Denver.
Well, this poor Cleveland ball club, again, not to belabor the point, but when you lose 8 by a total of 23,
Yes.
oh, there has been so much frustration along the way. 3 minutes and 58 seconds consumed in an 82-yard scoring drive. Moriarty going the final 4. He's had a pair of 4-yard touchdown runs as we watch Cooper put his right foot to the ball. Glenn Young at the 3-yard line. Young trying to answer back. Oh, he looked like Edwin Moses trying to high hurdle people there as he got out across the 30. He manages to bounce up and come right back after taking a pretty tough lick. And for one of the few times today on a kickoff, I don't see any penalty markers down. Here are the numbers now on the drive. That's an impressive drive when you go 82, and especially when they were back there and they kind of stuttered and stumbled. We had that incompleted pass when Moon threw one away.
And they don't really have a home run threat on the field.
The big gainer was the 51 yards for Smith. We got a lot out of it. If you had breakaway speed, however, that would have been a touchdown. Here's Biner. Oh, you can see that the intensity level has kind of inched up a couple of notches now because the way that line pulled, the way the defensive surge was there, they're starting to really hit.
Well, the players are sensing an opportunity to gain control from the Oilers standpoint. One of the names that you have not been hearing offensively for Cleveland over the last couple of series is that of Ozzie Newsome. They are neutralizing Newsome in some fashion, which isn't very good for the Cleveland Browns.
We understand, Reggie, that Art Monk has just caught a pass to tie the all-time receiving record of Charlie Hennigan's, who is here today as an honorary captain at 101 for the season. He has equaled that mark. Play action fake. McDonald with time completes the pass over the middle. Harry Holtz down at the 39-yard line. Keith Bostic with the tackle. I also wanted to mention that defensively now for Houston, the fact that Donaldson, who we saw shaken up earlier, is back and is playing in that defensive secondary. We have the gun. That ends the third quarter, and we've got an interesting battle shaping up for our final 15 minutes of regulation play. It's 17-17. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. It was 20 years ago this day that Charlie Hennigan caught his 101st pass that set an NFL record. He's attending this ball game here today. Earlier, Reggie Rucker had a chance to chat with him.
That's fine. 21 years is long enough for anybody to hold it.
Now, you played with George Blanda and some of the really greats of the early American Football League days. What is your feeling of the pass offense of the 80s?
Well, it's a different game. We have the artificial turf. The goalposts are back off the goal line. There's one of them instead of two. The bump and run was a little different then. We play 16 games. It's a different game. It's a great game. The athletes are better. Monk is a tremendous athlete. I watched him play. He can do it all. And, you know, if he's the one, that's great. He's a super athlete.
Well, we've heard Jim Brown say that he may come out of retirement. We've heard Ahmad Rashad say something about coming out of retirement. What about Charlie Hennigan?
Ever. No, thank you.
Well, certainly, Charlie, it's my pleasure to stand here and talk with you. You're truly one of the greats of the OAFL, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate it.
Current numbers you saw on the screen. Monk now equaling Hennigan's record as we're set for action once again. The Cleveland Browns trying to answer back. Here's Davis for the first time today to the 45-yard line. Johnny Davis getting the call and responding in fine fashion as he churns out to the 47-yard line. 17-17, just underway here in the fourth quarter on the Gastrodome.
Here's something to think about in the American Football Conference Central Division. Well, let's go right now to the graphic there.
The
Art
updated
Monk,
numbers.
102.
He has
Congratulations, Art Monk.
8-yard pickup for Johnny Davis. We'll get back to that thought here in a moment, Reggie, as we watch McDonald set his team. Thomas Biner, boy, he's got running room. This time he's down to the 37-yard line, and what a day this young man is having. The Cleveland ground game has come to life. They've answered back after the Oilers behind Moriarty, Smith and company had tied it up.
I'll tell you, George Lilja, number 62, a new addition to this outfit, is doing a very fine job of sealing off the inside. Doug Deacon coming around on the outside on the pull, and once again, Ernest Biner good vision, good moves, big play.
And according to our Ken Johnson handling the stats for us here in the booth, Biner now over 100 yards for the second consecutive week. 11 carries, 103 yards. Biner adding to the total, gets a couple of more. Now, you mentioned Lilja playing in place of Paul Farron, who started at right tackle, and that all came about because Bill Kontz was hurt last week. He underwent surgery on Monday. I understand that he has a lengthy rehabilitation process on a knee coming up, as you see the updated numbers now for Ernest Biner.
Bill Kontz at Cleveland Clinic back in Cleveland after undergoing knee surgery. Bill's watching the football game. I'm sure he is. We hope you get well soon, Bill.
Tough way to have to spend the holidays, Bill. I'll tell you, virtually every team in the National Football League this year, it seems like there have been so many of those type of injuries. Both of these ball clubs have been hard hit. Ernest Biner. He gets hit hard. The initial surge had Bingham and Ham in there, but he still managed to punch through and get a couple of yards on top of it, down close to the 30.
One thing, while we're right here paying tribute to these athletes, maybe we should take a moment and say to Gibbs Shanley, who after 24 years of calling Cleveland play-by-play is moving to the West Coast, and this is the final game for the voice of the Browns, Gibbs Shanley, and we want to wish Gibbs Shanley, from all of us here at NBC, the very best.
Absolutely. 24 years. Imagine that, calling the play for the Browns. Third down. Fans trying to exhort the Houston defense. Biner breaks through. He's going to be very close to that first down yardage as he's down to the 26-yard line. Looks, in fact, like he may have it. Ernest Biner, the rookie running back from East Carolina, has done a job here this afternoon.
When you continue to call the number inside like that for these running backs, you pay tribute to the offensive line. Jackson, DeLamalure, Babb, Deacon, and Lilja. Those people are being rewarded for their excellence of blocking by calling plays that come right behind them.
One thing that I like about this ballgame thus far is the way that each team has answered back. They've answered back with determination. I think that's a reflection on these young coaches, Schottenheimer and Campbell.
We've got to get back to the point that I was trying to make about that.
Play action fake. McDonald looking for the end zone. Holt is there at the 2-yard line with a fine diving grab. Harry Holt, second-year receiver from Arizona, who's having, I believe, his best day of the season. He'd only caught 16 balls coming in. He's right there close to touchdown territory.
We pointed this out at the very beginning of the telecast. One of the objectives, find out if Harry Holt, number 81, can play this game, because if he can, then they may want to stay with the one-back offense. If he can't, then they will have to go to the one tight end offense and the 2 backs.
Harry Holt has caught 4 balls, 43 yards total. He got 22 on that last play. It's first and goal now. 17-17 ball game. Davis gets the call. He has the touchdown for Cleveland, and the Browns go back in front. Johnny Davis, 7-year veteran from Alabama. That's his first touchdown of the season, and you know he's a happy man.
And the reason why this tug-of-war is being fought so tightly is because these 2 clubs and the other 2 clubs in the Central Division, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, I do not believe that there's that much of a difference, Gary. And I think that they're all struggling for control right here, because the winner of the Central Division in 1985 could come from any of the 4 clubs involved in the AFC.
Absolutely. You've seen the marked improvement of Houston, winning 3 of their last 5 coming into this one. We mentioned the 8 losses by the combined total of 23 points for the Browns. You win half of those ball games, and they're in Pittsburgh's position.
That's right.
Right now, here's Harry Holt coming off after the Johnny Davis 3-yard touchdown run that makes it 23-7, and we're waiting for the inversion attempt. Holt shaking a bit on that last play.
Now, see, Holt is the stereotypical tight end. Newsom is the prototypical tight end. You got that?
I'm going to school now. Professor Rucker. Conversion attempt with Matt Barr upcoming. He has it. So we have a 24-17 tally on the scoreboard in the Astrodome. 10:41. Let's take another look.
Let's look at number 38, Johnny Davis from Alabama, teammate of Ozzie Newsome. Do what he does very well. Short yardage and goal line, 240-some pounds, uncontested.
The B-1 Bomber.
They're probably looking for Biner, and everyone is converging in toward the line of scrimmage on Biner. Look at the blue jersey. See, they think Biner has the ball. Good camera work down there, fellas. Bob Levy and Steve Dan.
All right, our crew on top of it as Davis gets the score. Back for more from Houston after these messages. An impressive drive for the Cleveland Browns. 70 yards, 9 plays, just over 5 minutes. Davis getting his first touchdown of the season to make it a 24-17 ball game. Hugh Campbell, hands on hips across the way, wondering now how his club will answer back as we have just over 10 minutes to play in this one in the Houston Astrodome. 26-17, Redskins with a field goal have upped the lead, and Buffalo answering with a touchdown, but Cincinnati also 38-14. Looks as if the Bengals have just about locked that one up. They'll be waiting the second half of our doubleheader here in the near sideline with the football. Joyner out to the 30-yard line. Willie Joyner, the rookie from Maryland. Well, we'll see now how Houston bounces back. You know, you look at rushing touchdowns for the Cleveland Browns this year. They've had 3 today as we have the Steelers and the Raiders again coming up in the second half of our doubleheader. The Browns with 3 rushing touchdowns today. They've had only 7 all season long. 6 by Pruitt, 1 by McDonald. Davis now has 1. Biner has 2 this afternoon.
Well, you know what's happening. Biner is becoming more confident as he plays. He's beginning to recognize things quicker, and that's what happens when you get an opportunity to play and you have some success.
Well, Houston has answered back the last couple of times. Those trading touchdowns. Let's see what happens for the Oilers from their own 30-yard line. Moriarty back to Moon. Rucker firing deep. Tim Smith, 35-yard line and out of bounds. And what a job Warren Moon did, because he was buried when he threw the football. Eddie Johnson unloaded on Warren Moon just as he got the ball away, but he got the ball to Smith, and Moon appears to be okay. I'm amazed.
Well, you know what? I think the Houston Oilers went way back in the films to the New England Patriot game when the Patriots utilized this same play and beat the Cleveland Browns. They beat Minifield on this same type of thing. Play action fake. He's looking in the backfield. They fooled him. Smith, if he had more speed, would have had an 80-yarder.
And you saw just at the left of the screen, just as Warren Moon got rid of the football, you got an idea of the impact as Eddie Johnson unloaded on Moon. 43 yards gained.
And I'll guarantee you one thing. Moon never even felt it.
Well, they love it in Houston. 24-17, and the Oilers bouncing back now behind Warren Moon. 1st and 10, Cleveland territory at the 28-yard line. Moriarty trying to get to the 26. Remember now, we mentioned earlier, Tim Smith was shut out in Cleveland 3 weeks ago. Check these numbers. He's caught 6 today now for 157 yards.
Not bad for a fellow who isn't supposed to be able to run. You know, one of the things that happens if you're Frank Minifield and you look into the backfield, there's that graphic, and you look into the backfield, what happens is that you're susceptible to a play like that. Now, if you're watching the receiver, that wouldn't happen. That means Minifield is looking where he shouldn't be looking.
Tim Smith, very popular, voted by the fans here in Houston as the man of the year for this 1984 season, winding down now in the final weekend. Over the middle, Jamie Williams, 20-yard line, still on his feet. He's down at the 12. Jamie Williams upended by Curtis Weathers. And we're looking at a couple of ball clubs that just refuse to roll over on each other. They come back in this second half. It was a bit lethargic in the first half, but we're seeing some fine football now on the Astrodome.
Jamie Williams was originally drafted in the 3rd round by the New York Giants. Didn't make it there. He is certainly doing a job here this afternoon. Not noted as a pass catcher, doing a fine job maneuvering inside and catching the ball.
13-yard pickup, puts the ball just inside the 13-yard line. First down, 9:03 to go on this one. Cleveland on top, 24-17. Moon with a mix-up, going to have to hang on to the football himself. Tripped up at the 10-yard line as Weathers reacted quickly and came over to make the tackle, but there was definitely a mix-up in the backfield that time.
Okay, let me tell you what might have happened, because Moriarty is deaf in one ear. He cannot hear. One of the problems they have down here is Moon does not have a strong voice. If he changes the play at the line of scrimmage, it has happened that Moriarty has missed a play on numerous occasions. Now watch, see, they didn't pick it up, and now Moon has to run with the football, and at $1 million a year, you don't want that.
He got 3, 2nd out and 7. The ball just inside the 10 now at the 9-yard line. Cleveland defense trying to regroup. Let's see what kind of pressure. Movement in the line. Moriarty with the football up over the top. That's a yard or so. No penalty marker down, just getting off the ball very quickly. We thought perhaps that somebody had jumped.
You know what the astonishing thing about all of the things they tell us about Moriarty, despite the tremendous strength and speed for a 240-pounder, is that he has a 38-inch vertical jump and with no rocking start.
When you stop and think about that, that's just straight up in the air, better than 3 feet. And for a man that weighs 240 pounds, you've got to be very, very strong.
He's all power, folks.
Holston and Smith to the near side. Dressel, top of the screen. This time it's Smith in motion. Here come the Browns. Moon over the middle. Smith at the 3-yard line. They picked up the blitz. Penalty markers down. Late flag. Al Gross with the tackle. And again, as you mentioned earlier, Reggie, a case of Smith in motion, angling back over the middle against Al Gross. Official huddling down for this important call. Penalty marker down at the 6-yard line. And this one will go against the Oilers. Warren Moon for the afternoon. Let's take a look. Maybe we'll be able to pick it up here on the replay.
Let's see if we can pick up the pushing. Now, 83 is Smith in motion. We're not going to see it from this angle here unless... Well, you can't tell right now, but...
Pass interference. Number 88 offense blocking downfield. Repeat, third down.
Well, Chris Dressel, the H-back, guilty of the infraction as he comes off, and that's one of those costly penalties because instead of being at the 3-yard line now, potentially with a first down, they were very close to the yard markers. It's now 3rd and long. Tampa Bay rolling against the Jets, who've really struggled second half of the season. Chicago stretching it out over Detroit after the Lions had the early jump in that ball game. And Indianapolis bouncing back against New England's Patriots in the 4th quarter. Big 3rd down play for Moon out of the shotgun. Full blitz. Again over the middle. Pass completed. And again it's Tim Smith inside the 10 at the 8-yard line. And it's going to be decision time now for Hugh Campbell.
This is called reading on the run. Communication exists between the receiver and the quarterback, and they automatically go to this when they see a blitz. Suddenly, Tim Smith has become just an impossible player to cover.
Well, they shut him out 3 weeks ago, not today. The fans don't like the fact that Cooper and the field goal company have come on after that 10-yard gain, but the fact remains it's going to be 4th down and 7 yards for the first down. Hugh Campbell says, let's get some points on the board. This will be a 26-yard attempt by Cooper. He's hit one earlier today. He had a 33-yarder. He also missed wide right. And we saw one fake. No doubt about this one. Cooper nails it from 26, and so it becomes now a 24-20 ball game as Houston is inched closer. We've got 6 minutes, 23 seconds to go. Cleveland will have the football when we come back. Well, you mentioned Gibb Shanley, his final broadcast for the Browns. There he is, Reggie. You see him with the headset there in the middle. There's got to be a lot of thoughts going through his mind right now.
That's right. He's a legend in the Northern Ohio area. 24 years, the voice of the Cleveland Browns.
Well, he's got a good one to go with here in his final broadcast for the Browns. It's 24-20, as you see on the scoreboard. 6:23 to go. Cleveland will be getting the football. Here's Cooper's boot. Young, 2 yards deep.
Exciting young runner here.
Pretty good hit. Knocked down at the 26-yard line. Teddy Thompson over there, the free agent acquisition back in 1976. Played his college ball at SMU down here with the tackle. 30 yards on the return. McDonald comes out. Checking other scores or updating activity. The Jets closing a bit, but not much. Green Bay on top of Minnesota. A long season for the Vikings. And Green Bay coming on their second half of the year. Certainly much more impressive than the first 8 weeks of the season. 1st and 10 Browns. Let's see how they elect to play this one now. As they have Bynum carrying the football. He's well over 100 yards in the day, up close to the 30-yard line.
Well, 6:03 left in the football game. 24-20 The Browns up by 4. They want to control the ball. 2 tight ends on the same side. 82 Newsome, 81 Holt. Good blocking inside, fellas. Biner does the rest of the work. Good line play.
Warren Moon updating some of our individual statistics here. Warren Moon now over 300 yards passing today. We mentioned Ernest Biner's over 100 yards. He's up now to 119 yards on 15 carries. Putting some numbers on the scoreboard in an entertaining ball game, 24-20. The final minutes now counting down in Houston. Ernest Biner, look at the hole this time across the 40, and look out at midfield. Ernest Biner, he's going for 200 yards today. Pulled down at the 15-yard line. Excellent effort, and the way he reacted to his blocker out in front.
Well, you certainly can't say anything about the fact that he got caught from behind, because he's done a marvelous job here of creating space to run to. Now, it's true, the offensive line is springing him. They're putting him in the secondary. And when your offensive line does this, you should, as a professional back, create things for yourself. Look, 2 blocks, 2 tackles, miss right there. Now he cuts back behind a Ricky Feature block, and now it's a foot race that he can't win, but he's still a very, very productive runner, and the Cleveland Browns have everything to look forward to in 1985 with this young man running the football. Look at the good moves, good leg strength. Just doesn't have the great speed, though, but I'll tell you, I'll take him any day.
57 yards in that play. Biner's up to 175 on the afternoon. McDonald wants to go long. He fires down the middle. Oh! The arms of Ricky Feature. Willie Tullis with defensive coverage on Ricky Feature. Feature wears gloves, which I was surprised at. Asked him about it earlier here indoors. And then I also found out that Willis Adams, who's been hurting a bit, hasn't seen much action today, also wears gloves. Several of the receivers do here.
Well, one of the things you can do with gloves is you can stick them on the gloves, then you can take the gloves off so that you don't have a problem sticking everything. Now watch here as McDonald threads the needle. Ball right there on the money. Boom! Right in the hands of number 83, Ricky Feature. Ricky can't hold on. Let's see if the Browns are able to hold on.
Tullis with good defensive coverage, but boy, Paul McDonald had that one right there, didn't he? 2nd and 10.
Look for Newsom to be involved right here.
That's Newsom in motion. It's Biner gets the call. Good hole in the middle again. Offensive line just opening up all kinds of holes for the running backs, Green and Biner. This time Biner down at the 11-yard line. Had 100 yards last week, 103 against Pittsburgh. And you see the career high number now, 180 yards. Oh, what a goodness. You think he's ready to play some more football next week.
I don't care what happens with Ernest Biner from here on. He can always look back and say, hey, my rookie year in the National Football League, I rushed for 180 yards.
And there's a rookie coach, Marty Schottenheimer, in his 8th game. He's hoping to be 4-4 in his tenure as a head coach before this afternoon is complete. Biner again. Excellent penetration by the Oilers, but it takes 3 of them to finally pull him down. Stensrud was in there. Brazil had a shot. Finally, it was Bostic who was over there to make the tackle.
I think Biner thinks he's Superman. What a job. 180 yards rushing in this day, and he just fought off 3 of the very best tacklers the Houston Oilers have to offer on that play. Made an exciting run out of nothing.
That was a big effort, though, on the part of the Houston defense, because if they force the field goal and the Browns get it, it's still a 7-point ball game as we're down inside 3 points. Here's Matt Barr. This will be a 29-yard attempt. Barr's got it. And the Browns have matched their point outputs in a victory against Houston 3 weeks ago. They won at 27-10 in Cleveland, but right now it's a 27-20 ball game. 2:43 to go. We'll see if the Oilers can come back. We have a 27-20 ball game here in Houston. 2:43 to go. Cleveland will be kicking off to Houston. Elsewhere around the NFL today, some very important games. Let's check some of those scores. Here's a most significant one, and St. Louis is battling back. It's 26-20. They've answered with another field goal. So the Cardinals still hanging by their fingernails in that one, going down to the wire. And don't forget, coming up the second half of our big doubleheader, it'll be the Steelers going against the Raiders. The Steelers in a must-win situation to make the playoffs. Field goals in a season for Matt Barr has now moved himself, I believe, past Lou Groza with his 12th consecutive. He's now hit 24 on the year. Carl Roaches returning the kick. The little guy gets it out across the 35, so a pretty decent return. Gives Moon and his friends some breathing room as they go to work now in the remaining 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Oliver Luck with a last-minute word to Warren Moon as we watch Moon come out of the field. 34 yards in the return by Roaches. Scott Nicholas with the tackle. One of the been a very entertaining ball game.
One of the features that they provide for you here in the Astrodome is just an up-to-date indicator of the yardage gain for both sides. Right now, the Oilers have gained 394 yards offensively, and the Browns have gained 380 yards offensively. I didn't like that when I played here because I didn't want to see what I was doing.
Well, your coach would say you shouldn't be looking up there at the scoreboard, Reggie. Feiner with more than 180 of those. Warren Moon has accounted for 300 plus for the Oilers. Dumps it out to Moriarty. Moriarty looking for room to the 40-yard line and bumped out. Warren Moon's big games this year: 365 yards against the Colts, 356 against San Francisco, 303 against Pittsburgh. He's now in the 300 range for the 4th time this year as we see that Chicago has extended its lead now over the Detroit Lions. Counting down toward the 2-minute mark, New England on top of the Colts by 6. See if they get this play underway before we reach the 2-minute mark. Doesn't look like it. So there is the 2-minute warning. Fans here alertly noticing that the clock actually counted down to 1:58 before they actually got it stopped. We'll make the adjustment. And right now, coming your way, another one of those fantastic finishes. Inside the 2-minute mark, Warren Moon now with his 4th 300-yard passing effort this season equals a record that he shares with George Blanda back in the glory days of the Oilers. And Ernest Miner has done some record-breaking here, or record-equaling for the Browns.
That's right. Ernest Miner's 182 yards rushing today is the most by a Cleveland running back since 1978, and Greg "Do-It" Pruitt.
All of those things, though, go out the window right now because this ball club wants to answer back. You see that they've reset the clock at 2 minutes. You see the score, 27-20. Touchdown and the conversion, and we start thinking about overtime.
Is there any record in professional sports that's safe, Gary?
Not this year. Rushing records, passing records, receiving records, they've all gone by the wayside in 1984. A memorable season. Here's Moon. Down the middle. Smith can't hang on at the 40-yard line. Boy, he climbed the ladder on that one, got his hands way up there. Couldn't quite squeeze it to him.
Well, we've talked a lot about Tim Smith, but the fellow throwing the football to him, Warren Moon, is having an extremely exceptional day passing the football. Watch him now, just looking for a lane there. Gets up off the ground pretty good, but the ball thrown just a little bit behind him, and with the velocity with which Moon throws that football, that's a tough catch to make, twisting and turning.
You know, technically, Warren Moon is not recognized as a rookie. They thought he would be, but that's been clarified in the past week. He's a first-year player in the NFL, but he has surpassed several first-year records for quarterbacks in this season for Houston. And right now, he's in trouble. Couldn't hang on to the snap. Fumbled the football and is back at the 29-yard line. The Browns alertly coming in there. Glenn Young, who was in on top of him. That hurts a bit because you lose back to the 29-yard line, and you're going to have to regroup with a 3rd and long yardage.
And just a little loss of composure there, because Warren should recognize the fact that that's a pass play, and he has enough time to pick that football up and then do something with it, rather than lie on it like that and take that huge loss.
And I stand corrected. It's 4th down and long yardage. 4th and 19. The ball is back at the 29-yard line. So here it is. Here's your season right now for the Houston Oilers.
Look for Tim Smith and Hanford Dixon to be involved in this play.
And let's see what kind of pressure again. The ball is snapped, fumbled. Moon picks it up, scrambling for dear life. If he pulls this one off, it's a miracle. It's intercepted. Al Gross, no, he drops the football at the 45-yard line.
Well, it's probably better that he did drop the football.
He had it in his
further
hands.
up the football field.
And so the crowd here starts heading for the exits after the Oilers gave it a shot in the final 2 minutes, trying to come up, but 2 times on 3rd and 4th down. The exchange from center, there'd been no problems all ball game long. it ends up in disaster for the Oilers, and
it's like Times Square New Year's Eve.
it's fire drill time here, it would appear.
They're
in the
getting out.
Astrodome. They're headed for the exits. Well, it looks as if the Houston Oilers will end at 3-13, and the Cleveland Browns will up their record, and you see the frustration etched in the eyes and the face of Warren Moon in his transition year from the Canadian Football League to the NFL.
And at 3-13, certainly the Houston Oilers are going to be in prime talent drafting position come 1985 draft.
Hugh Campbell says he wants to bolster that defensive line. That's the priority. Here's Ernest Biner adding to the numbers to the 25-yard line. The Oilers have called timeout. 1:11 to go. We want to thank Ken Johnson for handling our statistics here in the booth. Vern Eschenfelder has been spotting the Oilers. Frank Priddy has been spotting Cleveland for us. Appreciate all of their help, along with Steve Dance and Bob Leavely and all the crew down on the truck. The ladies and gentlemen who've worked so hard, not only today, but of course throughout the 16 weeks of this National Football League season. We have 1:11 to go in Houston. The Browns have the football and a 7-point lead. Well, the Astrodome is thinned out after that last attempt at trying to answer back and tie things up. There's Hugh Campbell, arms folded across the way, thinking about this season as we check other activity around the National Football League. Cincinnati pouring it on Buffalo. That one, no question now. Tampa Bay doing the same with the New York Jets. Chicago comfortably over Detroit. This is a final now. The Patriots win their season finale, and also Green Bay victorious in their finale. Here's that important ball game. Washington still leading St. Louis by 6. As the Browns count down the final seconds here in the Astrodome, getting down close to the 1-minute mark, and again whistles and a timeout has been called.
Well, Marty Schottenheimer's philosophy of going with either the 3-back rotation of Green, Biner, and Mike Pruitt certainly held up here today. He said, other than that or beyond that, I will go with the player who has the hot hand. And that's exactly what he did here with Ernest Biner.
And remember, Marty Schottenheimer said back a couple of weeks ago, the best thing we can do in 84-85 is win in 84. And that's what he's been able to do here today. It'll be, well, we can't be premature. We still have 1:06 to go. It's a 7-point spread. The Browns certainly in a controlling situation here at the 23-yard line in Houston territory.
There's so many head coaches that realize that the only success or the only upward improvement that you can get in this really wonderful sport of professional football comes with winning. And winning breeds everything that is positive in the National Football League. Losing does just the opposite.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been impressed from what I've seen of both Hugh Campbell and Marty Schottenheimer and their approach to the game, and the fact that both were unfazed in a great deal of adversity, at least outwardly. And this will be the way the things will end up. Cincinnati in the driver's seat could end at 8-8, and of course
now,
the doubleheader game with Pittsburgh.
Let me mention
the Raiders.
that Pittsburgh and Houston will play the same schedules next year. Cincinnati and Cleveland will play the same schedules, and it will be slightly easier than Pittsburgh and Houston.
Ernest Biner, the workhorse today, the man with the hot hand, carries the ball to the 19-yard line. You see the time running down now inside the 1-minute mark. And again, the clock being stopped. Final timeout, I believe, being taken by the Oilers here. So they are now out of timeouts. Their final opportunity to stop the clock. Third down coming up for the Browns. Chain coming in from across the way to see whether or not Biner was close enough to get the call for the first down.
Now, defensively speaking, the Browns came into this football contest 33 yards fewer, having given up 33 yards fewer than the Raiders for first place in the AFC East. They'll have to wait until the second game is over between Pittsburgh and the LA Raiders to determine if they have in fact won the defensive title in the American Football Conference.
See Marty Schottenheimer emphatically pointing out some instruction now. We saw the chains come in, the fact that the Browns have the first down, so it now becomes a formality. And look at here. St. Louis has gone in front. That extra point that was missed on the first touchdown of the day, haunting the Redskins. The Cardinals lead by 1 fourth quarter. Kneeling on the football as we count it down here in Houston. Biner, 21 carries, 189 yards. Warren Moon's stats, he ends up 19 for 31, 306 yards today. No touchdown passes, no interceptions. Larry Moriarty had a couple of touchdowns. Biner's had a pair. And you wish you could climb inside the minds of these head coaches here in these final seconds.
So is there consensus of opinion that Ernest Biner is our most valuable player here this afternoon? We don't have anything to give him, but It certainly is a heck of a Christmas present for the young man.
Don't forget the second half of the doubleheader. Pittsburgh and the Los Angeles Raiders. The Raiders who've looked like they're rounding into form for defense, possibly of the Super Bowl title.
I'm going to take the Steelers.
Are you? You're going to the Steelers?
And the Raiders, I believe, are the very finest in football when it comes to this, but I'm going to go with the Steelers.
McDonald kneeling down, and the countdown continues. McDonald's day today, not too impressive as far as numbers. 14 for 22, certainly nothing wrong with that. 135 yards passing. But he was able to drive the ball club when he needed to, and when you got Biner running for that kind of yardage, they're in the driver's seat.
Well, certainly for all of the Cleveland fans, I know this has not been what you expected in 1984, but I think that Marty Schottenheimer has really gained control of this football team, and that's what the players look for in a head coach, and I think that's what Art Modell certainly is looking for from his head coach. And 1985 promises to be a very exciting year for the Cleveland Browns. They have a fine defense, and they're looking for that offensive player with the explosion that I think they'll get in the draft.
And in this particular division, with the 4 teams that have struggled, it doesn't take that much improvement to jump from the bottom to the top.
That's right.
Of course, every other team is going to be aware of that. We understand that in that Washington-St. Louis game, St. Louis now leading by 1. There is about 6 minutes remaining in that contest.
They'll do some more scoring there.
All the ramifications of the playoff situation. You know, the New York Giants are hanging on the edge of their seats watching what's going on in that ball game. This should be the final play of the game. McDonald kneeling down once again, and we watch the clock count down. Marty Schottenheimer knows that it's over. So he'll end his season at 5-11. Since taking over for Sam Rutigliano, he goes to 4-4. Hugh Campbell and the Oilers end at 3-13, but they won 3 of the last 6. There are some bright spots in both sides. You see them exchanging smiles across the way. Again, our congratulations to the Pro Bowl selections. Mike Munchak for the Oilers and Ozzie Newsome of the Browns. Is here in the Astrodome. We have a final score of 27-20. A lot more football coming up on NBC. We hope you've enjoyed it here from Houston.